And now, with no idea why I chose that song, Jack Johnson.
You got me there, Kay. You got me there. Another edition of the program on Sports Radio 810. I have no idea why you picked that song.
Kyle, you're a bit more of an old head music-wise.
Nah, it went right over my head.
That's a song by Rod Stewart. Came out in the early mid-'80s.
He's still on tour, too.
I know. It's amazing he's still alive.
The
song does not say the words in the song, but the name of the song is Young Turks.
Now I know why you picked it. I didn't know initially.
I knew I'd have to.
Clever.
There might be, I think Todd would get that, and Drake, Danny would get it, and
Jason and Sterling would get it.
No, Jason and Sterling both said that they wouldn't have gotten it.
Oh,
Sterling didn't hear it. Jason
okay.
said there's no way I would have gotten that. So
fair.
What about Petro?
No. Not a chance.
Not a chance at all.
No,
then I could feel a little bit better.
He would know the song, but he'd have no idea what the name of the song was. So I thought about doing that. I thought about a couple other things, and I thought, I'll just rock with the Young Turks.
Would you have been completely shocked if I said I know exactly why you picked that song? And I'm Rod Stewart's number one fan. I am the number one fan in this studio of Rod Stewart. That's my favorite song.
And I can tell you that the Pee Wee Herman's girlfriend in the movies plays in that video. And anyway, I would have been fairly stunned. I wouldn't have fallen out of my chair.
I'll take that.
So, but
okay.
That would be impressive. I thought about when I heard the call. He said "round the outside." I thought about, round the outside, round the outside. By the way, though, that's a fantastic call at the end. They may be going home tomorrow, but that they're going wild right now. And I was like, I'm not sure if he wrote that out, but even if he did, that was a great call.
We've had those discussions before about nailing the moment when it comes to a great call, and there's been some tremendous calls in the World Cup so far. We'll probably talk a little bit more about the World Cup and the United States when Danny is in studio. But if you're just now tuning in, no Soren Petro today. I am your fill-in host, Jack Johnson, but you still have the regular crew, Curtis Siebold, Kyle Collier. And as I just mentioned, Danny Klingsky will be joining us in the 3 o'clock hour. We'll be talking a little Royals, a little Chiefs in the first hour here, but with Danny, you know that those conversations can go a couple different ways. We can circle back to the Royals, circle back to the Chiefs, maybe some college baseball, college football, still a little bit of a ways away. But
music
may
go round the outside, round the outside, round the outside. That's possible.
You never know what to expect when we get Danny unleashed.
When he's unleashed, it's there's really no end to the possibilities.
I'm pretty sure the only thing that we have not discussed, when at least I've been here, would have been the NBA. But I know you guys would have because of the NBA Finals. I just wasn't filling in during that time.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll talk a little NBA draft. We do have that occurred in the past week. And we might do that on our own as well because we know Darren Peterson went second overall to the Utah Jazz. Will he play every game this year? I'm sure that'll be a topic of discussion at some point today and at some point leading up to the NBA regular season. We'll, of course, have the 2-minute drill in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll have the need to know in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll play a little bit of in or out. Got to give thanks to Kyle Collier for that one. If you've been listening to the night shift with Michael Darcy, the producer for The Zone, you would have heard them play this before. So if you're unfamiliar, hopefully you have stuck around by then listening to the entire show here today. But very similar to buy or sell. We go over a topic. We give a question. All three of us will have anywhere from 4 to 5 questions, and we'll go around this round table and say, are we in on that or are we out?
Do you like your questions?
I do.
I think I like mine.
Kyle? I think it's going to have a great debate.
I stole one from Jeff Passan, but yeah, I like him.
It's all right. He's a good guy to steal from.
Hopefully we can get somewhere between 30 to 35 minutes out of it. That would be my hope in the final hour of this show.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that one. And then as we always do, we'll wrap up this show with the kicker. The Royals will begin a 3-game series in Chicago tonight against the very surprising first place Chicago White Sox. The Royals are dead last in the American League Central, I should say. They're tied for dead last in the American League with the Los Angeles Angels. And if you've been living under a rock, you would be unaware of the fact that the American League might be as bad as it's been ever. I was trying to think of the last year it was this awful.
I looked up earlier. I was thinking maybe an angle for a Sports Center lead, and I decided to go with something else. The last time that all 5 teams in one division had a negative run differential on June 26th was the NL West in 2005. So it's been 21 years since we've had a situation like this. All 5 teams, all in the red.
It's brutal looking at it right now.
Crazy.
In fact,
and the whole American League is brutal. It's the first time since '58 that only 2 teams in one league had a positive run differential. That's how crazy the American League is.
You've got the Yankees, who are by far and away the American League favorite. They have a run differential of plus 110. Second place, the Tampa Bay Rays at plus 13.
Yeah, and they were 0 as of
until they beat up on the Royals last night.
2 days ago. No, and it was before Game 3 they were at 0.
They were at 0.
But I think
exactly.
Seattle was plus.
Seattle is now plus 4.
Yeah.
The
Rays joined them with their two games, but they could have fallen even further. But it's we've not seen this before.
In case you're wondering, and I know you are, the Royals are negative 49. Surprisingly, they do not have the worst run differential in the American League. And no, it's not the Los Angeles Angels. The Angels have a run differential of negative 36. It would be the Athletics.
Wow.
Negative 54. And they are 39 and 42. They currently hold a wild card spot because they are tied with Houston, who started the year just about as bad as the Royals. I'm sure Danny will talk about that as well. But now all of a sudden, the Astros, who are 7-3 in their last 10 3-game winning streak, they are 40 and 43.
Yeah, Royals are playing a couple games behind what their run differential would suggest. Their expected one loss is 36 or 36 and 46, but that should knock down any notion that they've just been unlucky and they're somehow better than their record would indicate. They are, but not very much.
It is wild to see that in a year like this, the Royals could be 14 games under 500, tied for the worst record in the American League, and they are one good week away from being right there in the thick of it. It would also take a really bad week from all these teams that are chasing them, but it's brought up this discussion.
That's the issue.
And I want all 3 of us to partake in this discussion, so we'll definitely get Kyle's thoughts as well.
Darn it. I was just going to sit here.
You can sit watching the game tonight and say, big series. White Sox are in first place. The Royals are 8.5 games out. You go in there and you sweep the White Sox. All of a sudden, you could be looking up on Monday morning and you're, give or take, 3.5 games out of a playoff spot. But are we doing ourselves a disservice, Curtis, in looking at the standings when we know what this baseball team is? We know who they are. We know about their injuries. We know about their underperforming players. We know about a rotation that went into the year with 8 or 9 guys that could start, and now you are holding on for dear life that one of these guys doesn't get hurt. I mean, we can't even have the discussions anymore, Curtis, about, who do you bump out of the rotation? Who do you send down to get right? They can't even do that. They don't have anybody else that can start. They had to call up Mitch Spence today. It'll be a bullpen game tonight for the Royals. Steven Cruz is the opener.
And Stephen Kolek, the reason Stephen Kolek's on the paternity list.
Yes, expecting the birth of his child. So we wish him nothing but the best. He was coming off a rough outing against the Cardinals on Sunday.
And we await the lineup to see if Bobby Witt Jr.
maybe the most important thing tonight.
But
I have just seen so much back and forth. It started, in my opinion, on Tuesday when they bludgeoned the Rays 12-5. Jack Caglione multi-home run game. You're winning these games without Bobby Witt Jr. and you're saying, and 5.5 back. And you already took the first 2 against the team that is the number 1 wild card team in the American League. What if they do start turning things on and they start to become the team that we thought they were going to be in the beginning of the season? I'm not going to look at the standings because it's one thing to be 5.5 games back, because that does seem doable. When you've got an entire second half of the season, you can make up 5.5 games. They're also chasing the entire American League. The Orioles are sitting there right now, a game and a half back, going, we're 6 games under, but we're a game and a half back. We can make that up in a weekend. The Tigers, who have had all kinds of trouble with the injured list, they're 5 games back. They've lost 3 games in a row, but they're saying, well, 5 games back. They're also a bad weekend away from being the worst team in the American League record-wise. the trade deadline's approaching, and I remember J.J. Piccolo had a conversation with Danny Rogers about we'll find out a lot about this team over the next month or so because you're not going to make any significant trades before the Major League Baseball draft. It's usually after that when the focus completely shifts to the trade deadline. And the Royals are in this weird limbo, and really not as weird as what Baltimore or Texas or Minnesota is going through, where you are a game and a half out of a playoff spot, or the Athletics or the Astros. I mean, the only team that should feel comfortable for a playoff position in the American League, New York Yankees, Tampa Bay Rays. I'm even saying that about the Royals' opponent tonight, the Chicago White Sox. They're leading this division, and they probably will be a playoff team if they continue to stay healthy. But I'm sure there are some White Sox fans that are a bit more pessimistic going, we've enjoyed this ride, but at some point adversity is going to strike.
It could collapse at any moment.
They've been without Munetaka Murakami, who was their all-star slugger. They've been able to tread water. They took a series from the Guardians, who were first place going into that series. Cleveland's thinking to themselves, Jose Ramirez is on the injured list. Can we stay alive this long with this offense? The Athletics are saying, we don't have any pitching. We've got a guy like Kurtz, a guy like Soderstrom. When they get healthy, when this offense, Shea Langoliers, we're going to be just fine. And we play in a hitter-friendly ballpark. There are so many different storylines in the American League, but one thing that I feel very strongly about with the Royals is they need to look in the mirror and understand who they are. The goal of every team is to not just make the postseason, it's to make a World Series run, to get hot at the right time, to be the one hoisting the trophy when it's all said and done. The Royals are not going to be able to do that. I don't believe I'm sticking my neck out there or anything like that. They're not a playoff team. They have shown us enough by now they are not a playoff team. And what you need to detach yourself from is the 2024 team and how they got there. As I'm watching the game yesterday, I see Seth Lugo get blown up. He gives up 7 earned runs. He gives up 3 bombs, 2 of them to Junior Caminero. And the Royals gave that extension to him last trade deadline. I'm sure they took a couple of calls. They didn't like the return, and they said, we're just going to keep him here because they were concerned about the opt-out at the end of the offseason, that if he pitched well enough, he was going to opt out. The Royals were going to pay him the money. They decided to pay him the money because they believed that Seth Lugo in 2024 was going to be the guy for at least 2 more years. It's not looking that way. They gave Michael Wacha the extension because when you saw that success in 2024, it was the belief of this is the first year of multiple years of contention. They didn't add as much to the offense last year. All they did was get Jonathan India. It didn't work out. This year, the only significant piece they added from another team was Isaac Collins. It has not worked out. Good news is Jack Caglione's turned into a monster in the middle of the order. Carter Jensen's been a competent bat, but they're 14 games under 500. You need to approach this trade deadline with the mentality of if we want to be competitive next year, we have to understand that we have to shift our focus into a new era. We say new era about like a decade apart. It's like the Royals in 2014 and 15, you don't win like them anymore. It's a new era of Royals baseball. But the longer the Royals hold on to that 2024 run and say, this is who we are, and we have that core. Lugo's in our rotation. Wacha's in our rotation. Cole Reagans is in our rotation. Our bullpen has Lucas Erceg as the closer, and we know what our lineup should look like. The longer you hold on to that, the tougher it will be to remain competitive. Because even in 2024, we saw in October, they were not built to go up against a team like the Yankees. 2025, they were not built to beat the Yankees. This year, clearly, they are not good to go toe-to-toe with the New York Yankees. And that's not the only team they should be comparing themselves against. They need to be comparing themselves with the rest of the American League Central. Think about how bad the Central is. If I would have told you right now, first place in the American League Central would have a record of 41-38, you would have taken that in a heartbeat and went, man, sure. So the Tigers clearly are struggling.
It might be the Royals.
It might be the Royals. It's baffling to me that this is where we are, but it's the reality of the situation. And that's why I'd approach the trade deadline and go, we need to get more pitching depth, same way you got Stephen Kolek and Ryan Bergert. You need to go out there and try to find fixes for certain spots in that lineup that you have just been kind of dealing with the last couple of years. Kyle Isbell is a great defensive center fielder. He can't be your center fielder in 2027. We've seen enough to know that he's more of a fourth outfielder. Let's go see if we can find an everyday outfielder. Isaac Collins, it's starting to show that Milwaukee traded him for a reason, and they only got Angel Serpa in that deal for Isaac Collins and Nick Mears. We know why they did it. They saw this regression. The Royals didn't. They took a chance on him. You need to go out there and compliment Jack Caglione in the outfield with another competent bat in left field that can lengthen the lineup. No, I'm not going to give up on Michael Garcia. I'm really not going to give up on Vinny Pasquantino. You've seen nice things from Michael Massey and Nick Lofton. Like, you are seeing a roster come together a little bit. But the issue this year has been, well, you get the offense going, now the starting pitching's not there and the bullpen's not there. Oh, you get the starting pitching going, well, now the offense looks like it did in April. Oh, you get the bullpen to calm down, well, the starting pitching's not there and the offense isn't there. That's the sign of a bad baseball team. We've seen it before, and we're seeing it this year. At the trade deadline, it gives you a chance to evaluate fresh blood, new talent. If Ryan Berger was healthy and available to pitch, you're probably more willing to move a Bubic or a Waka or a Lugo. That's why I'm not sold they are going to do that. But you cannot hang on to certain guys saying, well, they're going to be the same guy next year. If you get a good call about Daniel Lynch, you trade Daniel Lynch. We know relievers have short shelf lives in Major League Baseball. They had it for Scott Barlow a couple years ago. They kept telling everybody, well, we need a closer. We need to stay competitive. And then they lost value in Scott Barlow. Didn't get what they could have gotten for him 2 years earlier. You need to go into this trade deadline with what I like to call a soft sell. Stop looking at the standings. Stop saying we're a good week away. You can still be competitive in the second half, but you got to go and retool this team a little bit, because what I believe they're running into is the lack of depth hurting them tremendously. Too much pressure on guys to be the heavy lifters, right? Maybe putting too much on Vinny Pasquantino and Garcia to be top players in this sport, based off of, for Garcia, one really good year, Vinny Pasquantino, a couple of pretty good years, but putting too much on them and saying, you're the guys that got to drive the bus. A big reason, Curtis, which I know we'll get into here shortly, Salvador Perez finally having Father Time catch up to him has hurt them severely. To have somebody in the cleanup spot OPSing south of 600, that's not going to cut it for any contending team.
And well south of 600.
Well south.
Currently at 576. He is slugging 330.
Salvador Perez.
Yes.
Salvador Perez, who is going to be the all-time home runs leader for the Kansas City Royals. Like, that was something maybe you put too much stock into in the offseason and didn't have much of a cushion, unless they viewed Carter Jensen being that cushion of, hey, if Salvi doesn't cut it, well, then Carter Jensen's going to be the everyday catcher, which it kind of seems like they're transitioning to that anyway. But Vinny's struggling. Garcia's struggling. Salvi's struggling. We can play the game of eventually they're going to become the guy we expect them to, or they might not. And that's why the trade deadline, I would hate to see them stand their ground and go, well, we don't like the offer for this guy or this guy. I'm not saying you trade guys just to trade them, but you need to be listening on some of these offers. And if somebody gives you a really good offer for Daniel Lynch or Seth Lugo or Michael Waka, you might need to pull the trigger. Even if that means in the offseason you're down a consistent guy like Michael Waka, it's about that retooling of, we got to get younger. We got to get more years of control here. And then if we've cleared up some space financially, we then can go spend on that bat you've been searching for 3 years. We then can go get that workhorse, that true number one. I like Cole Reagans. I like the stuff that he has. You cannot go into 2027 handing him the number one spot. Durability is a part of your talent. You need to have somebody in that rotation that can log 200 innings again. The teams that have no 200 innings guys, 30-plus starts guys, they don't make the postseason. And if they do, they don't make a deep run into October. That's what I'm viewing with this team at the deadline. It's about evaluating the young guys like Jensen, Caglione, Avila, getting those guys every look you can, and then bringing in some more young talent to evaluate the rest of the way so that this does not become some underachieving lost season where you don't learn anything about your roster.
Yeah, I think two things real quick before I get to my main point. I think there's a better chance that Cole Reagans doesn't pitch at all for the Royals next year than there is, and he's the opening day starter. And I think they need to do more than just entertain deals or take calls. I think they need to make calls. And the reason is because it was Mark Twain that said, coined the term lies, damn lies, and statistics. And as a guy who his life is basically surrounded by stats, much of what I do is looking up stats. The one thing that bothers me the most about statistics is when people will put out stats and go, well, that's interesting, and they really don't have any idea of why that stat exists. Every stat that I put out, I try to find some kind of practical application. What caused this? What is this a sign of? What does it mean moving forward? And one of those stats is win-loss record. Where the Royals are right now at 34-48 tells you where they are mathematically, but it has no predictive qualities or abilities, but other than just how far out they are. The likelihood of them making a run is nowhere, isn't just where they are. How have they gotten here? What is their team right now? And if they were just playing some unlucky baseball and losing some close games, and they had their full complement of players, you might be able to look at that and say, well, this is going to come back around, and they have the ability to make a run. But they don't. I mean, Bob's not there. Vinny's not there. Michael's not there. Cole Reagans is not there. Chris Bubich is not there. Carlos Estevez is not there. The list of players for whom the Royals were counting on for impact this year is so long that, you say, well, we can get back to this. You didn't say this, but can they get back to the team that they thought they'd be this year? Well, the team they thought they'd be has sailed. It sailed. It began to sail when Carlos Estevez pitched 1/3 of an inning and was done for the year. That already just takes, you're the AL saves leader, ML save, Major League Baseball saves leader, gone. Okay, that's a pretty big thing to recover. Yep. They've never really recovered from that. This team is not situated in any way to make any kind of run, and we've seen that in June. They had a nice little start, and maybe nope, they're just not deep enough. Win a couple games here, nope. Two wins and nice wins on the road in Tampa against a pretty good team. Maybe they do not have the required talent and depth to make anything resembling a run. They just don't. And if they win 4 or 5 games in a row, they're going to lose 2 or 3 in succession after that. It's just not going to happen because it can't happen. And so to me, it's beyond just being open to making deals. I think they need to right now begin aggressively figuring out who they think will be here. Really almost nobody is untouchable. What kind of team do they want to be in 2027 and start building toward that? Doesn't mean you give up on this year. You still compete, but figure out the path forward now, because the gate closed on 2026 within the first 2 months. We just kind of, as a group of people who covered this team for 6 months, we didn't want to be like, the last 4 months going to be nothing? Well, competitively, they are. There are still other compelling things about it. But there simply isn't any foreseeable path to a rebound. So it needs to all be about the future. Any move they make from here to the end of the season has to be about next year.
J.J. Picollo, when he took over as the president of baseball operations, the general manager of the Kansas City Royals, I remember him talking about being transactional. I believe we've seen that. We've seen him be transactional in years where there was nothing to play for. 2023, it was all an evaluation year. They lost 106 games. The next year, they make the postseason. Transactional at the deadline. You bring in Lucas Ursig. You bring in Paul DeYoung. It wasn't a crazy deal, but it was a transactional move. It's just little pieces here and there to improve the team. Last year, you had Randall Grichuk. You had Mike Yastrzemski. You had a couple of pieces to maybe get you over the hump and give you a little bit more depth. I see more of the same this trade deadline. I could see them trading away Major League talent for Major League talent. I don't think there's any need to trade prospects to go get a Major League player. I don't believe they need to trade a Major League player to get low-level guys, because you still need to have that hope of competition next year. And if you truly believe the pieces are in place, then you need to make a trade that might hurt your big league roster in the moment.
Yeah.
Right? I thought that in the offseason, there was so much of this, we can't give up Reagans because of what Reagans can be. Now, we all know the deal I'm talking about. It was Cole Reagans for Jarren Duran. Jarren Duran has not been good for Boston this year, and it probably would have been a wash of a deal because Reagans would have been healthy. Duran would have underachieved for the Royals. Another one would have been, I know teams were interested in Noah Cameron because Noah Cameron was coming off of a top 3 finish in Rookie of the Year voting. And I thought to myself, well, the Brewers make these trades all the time, not just saying it because of Isaac Collins, but they get what they get out of a certain guy and go, long term, I don't see him being a crazy elite frontline starter. They went, Isaac Collins gave us 4 really good months, and he's a 27, 28-year-old rookie. We need more pitching depth. We're known for our pitching lab, where we get these guys and they turn into superstars, right? And great organizations go, we can trade that guy because we can recreate him. We can go get another guy just like that. And the Royals' fear of trading away a Noah Cameron or a Cole Reagans and them winning Cy Young Awards and being a multiple-time All-Star, at times I believe that's held them back and kept them with this stagnant offense of, well, we can't trade so-and-so because that would really hurt. Go back to 2024. I'm glad they held on to Vinny Pasquantino because he ended up, before the thumb fracture in Houston in late August, he was pacing to be a 25 home run guy, driving 110-plus, basically do what he did in 2025.
Yeah. He still finished with 97.
They reportedly turned down Jesus Luzardo, who would have been maybe a great frontline guy, and he's had some up and down years, but that was a true, at the time, really good young frontline starter, lefty that could run it up 97, 98. Very similar to what Cole Reagans could do, but could you imagine at the time having a Reagans and a Luzardo to go back-to-back, and you already went out there and signed Lugo and Walker? That might have been when they'd signed Lugo, but not Walker just yet. I hate being the hindsight 2020 guy because it's really easy to be the armchair GM when you see these deals work out and it's, well, I wouldn't have done that. Well, no, you wouldn't have done that because the player's not very good. But if we were in that office, if we were one of the scouts, we'd probably be saying the same stuff that they were all saying here. But going into the offseason, you have to have that move, speaking to J.J. Piccolo, where it kind of puts your stamp on as the general manager. There has not been that move just yet. Dayton Moore had a couple of them, right? Dayton Moore traded Zach Greinke and got Lorenzo Cain. He got Alcides Escobar. He got Jake Gutierrez. He got Jeremy Jeffress. After that, it was, well, that's the statement move for Dayton Moore. Well, then he trades, at the time, coming off a 90-plus loss season, their number one prospect and the number one prospect in baseball, and Will Myers, to go get James Shields and Wade Davis
with
and Elliot
Odorizzi,
Johnson,
who he got by being transactional in the earlier deal.
And it was a move that was widely criticized because did the Royals really just trade the guy who was supposed to be their cornerstone piece for James Shields and Wade Davis? We now know that was a move that ended up great for the Royals.
Yeah.
It was the right move. 2014.
They don't go to the World Series and win a world back-to-back years.
No,
if they don't make that move.
They were not competitive in 2013 without James Shields. He was their workhorse.
Yes.
They also kind of built a rotation.
And he set the tone for just an atmosphere of, we're here to kick some ass, guys. Let's get it together. Because ultimate clubhouse guy.
I'm a big believer in your clubhouse guy also needs to be good. You can't. I am not a believer in, well, he's a great clubhouse guy, and it's like, well, his numbers suck. How do you have the utmost respect of a guy that's not very good? James Shields was a workhorse. He was good, and he was the loud guy in the clubhouse. 2014, trade deadline rolls around. They don't add anybody but Josh Willingham and Scott Downs, and those were after the trade deadline. 2015 was we're not falling short again.
Nope.
I am trading Brandon Finnegan, who was a fan favorite. I am trading Cody Lamb, or Cody, I think it was John Lamb and Cody Reed. John Lamb and Cody Reed. I am trading away Sean Manaea to go get Ben Zobrist. And it was, if this doesn't work out, those guys.
And they probably don't win the World Series without those two trades.
Exactly.
We saw what Cueto did in a couple of big games at home, and we obviously saw what Ben Zobrist did to the lineup. I mean, the guy batted second and was a major cog in that team. They don't win the World Series without those two trades. And that's before all that happened, we had Jim Bowden on, who had been the GM of the Reds and was an analyst at ESPN. And he coined a phrase that I had not heard to that point, but it has stuck in my brain ever since. He said the Royals need to make a trade that hurts. And they hadn't to that point, and they did. And had you not gotten to it, I was going to get to that trade, December 9th, 2012, when they sent Will Myers to Tampa and return got Wade Davis and James Shields. That was the day. The 2014 series and the 2015 championship was born on December 9th of 2012. And they have to be willing to make that move. And they did, and they really haven't since 15, since that. And that deal in 15 was a different set of circumstances than in 2012. Yeah. They haven't made a move like that as a team that needs to improve drastically. And at some point, they're going to have to, because that's really the only way they're set up to do it. You're going to have to try to take that chance that you let go of a guy that you like, and he goes off and is really good somewhere else.
You
have to make that, because they're not going to be able to outspend teams. You can't draft your way to greatness, because it takes too long for even the best players to really get ready to be able to contend. So they have to be shrewd traders. And J.J. Picollo, for a lot of the flack he gets for the roster, has been a pretty decent horse trader in some middle areas.
Yes.
He's found some good value from guys you didn't expect to get much from. Now they need, I think, to make some moves for some guys that you think are going to be really impactful players moving forward. And you've one of the best things that's happened this year is that one of the biggest determining factors of their future success, Jack Caglione, seems to have found himself. And if that happens, Bobby Witt at some point will be healthy. You've got two guys who could potentially be MVP type players. That's a nice start. You've now added a second, because as good as Vinny Pasquantino has been, the only guy they've had that you think might be on the cover of Sports Illustrated in October was Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah.
Now they have a second guy, maybe. He's a guy who, and I said this before, that if greatness was expected of a player, if they had the pedigree, I'm much more trusting of early success from that person than if they came out of nowhere. And so because he was the 6th overall pick and lit it up in college and lit it up in the minors, I kind of think what we're seeing from Jack Caglione right now is legit. If it is, they've now got two guys, but they got to continue to make moves that allow them to get those players. I don't think you do it by trying to draft a bunch of guys. I don't think you do it by, you can't sign a bunch of expensive guys. You've got, and you don't do it by making mid-level trades. You've got to make some trades that have high risk to get that high reward. It's the only way they can. It's the only way they've done it, and it's the only way they can do it again.
Before we hit a break, Kyle, I do want to get your thoughts, because this is more of a roundtable than anything. Is this a deadline, or is it more the offseason? Or are you saying, well, they need to get the pieces in place before they make a move like this? When does J.J. Picollo have to put his stamp on this thing and go, this is the move, and it sounds harsh at first, this is the move that could get me fired. This is also the move that could get our team over the hump.
Yeah, and I don't think J.J. makes this move, a hypothetical move, until the offseason. I really don't think he's going to shake too much up at the deadline. He's going to keep most of the roster intact, I believe. But I think in the offseason, you're going to see guys like David Shields, Blake Mitchell, some of your better prospects. I know nobody wants to trade away Kendry Churio, but some of your guys in the offseason may be on the move. And you may have to combine a Blake Mitchell with a Vinny Pasquantino to go get a package for a bat in the offseason. But yeah, this deadline, it's likely going to be a minor move. Maybe Daniel Lynch, maybe Michael Wacha are the biggest names to be moved. But in the offseason, I think that's when you swing big.
Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, I have a few more thoughts on this and why it's vitally important, maybe not the deadline, but the offseason. It has to be the offseason for J.J. Picollo. This has to be the one that he makes not just maybe one move, it's a couple of big splashes. I'll tell you why next on the program. Back here on the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB, I'm your host, Jack Johnson, filling in for Soren Petro. He'll be back Monday, unless you guys have been told otherwise.
What he told
what
us.
He's saying.
Hard to say.
But yeah, Soren
New York
should be
has
back.
a way of changing people.
Always can. That's courtesy of Kyle Collier producing this thing. The Royals have announced their lineup for Game 1 of the Chicago White Sox. Why it matters? Well, you're probably asking, is Bobby Witt Jr. in there? He is. He is not playing shortstop, but he will hit second and he will DH. The lineup for Kansas City against former farmhand David Sandlin, who was traded to the Red Sox when they acquired John Schreiber going into the 2024 season. That's who will be going for the White Sox, at least per reports. That's what it's been. The Royals will have Carter Jensen leading off. He'll be catching. As we mentioned, Witt will be second. He is DHing. Caglione in right field tonight. Not a fan of that, but he will hit third. Lane Thomas will hit cleanup. He's in center. Michael Massey will hit fifth. He's at second. Salvador Perez kind of feels though at least K. Salvy's days of hitting cleanup, they're gone because David Sandlin's a righty and Lane Thomas is hitting fourth. Perez will be at first, though. Sixth, playing first. Batting seventh, Josh Rojas at short. I did some digging yesterday. Josh Rojas, I don't believe, has played shortstop since 2021 or 2022. He's been predominantly third base and second base. He's the only option they got other than Tyler Tolbert. So that's why he's at short. Nick Lofton third. Someone does. And Isaac Collins will round it out. He'll hit ninth and play left field. It'll be Steven Cruz as the opener. Earlier today, they made the roster move. Stephen Kolek was put on leave because he's expecting the birth of his child. Mitch Spence.
He's not having the child.
He's not having the child.
His wife is.
His wife is. So we wish nothing but the best for him, and he'll probably rejoin the team in the coming days. He'll be back, I'd assume, for his next start, which would be against Philadelphia next weekend in Kansas City.
Weird little Friday, Sunday, Monday.
Yes. It is a
3-game series.
Right after the 3-game set with the Cardinals, where they were playing Thursday, Friday, off Saturday,
and
then Sunday. I did want to get into this, though, before we move off the Royals in hour number one. A big reason why I believe J.J. Picollo has to have his statement off season is because though Bobby Witt Jr.'s opt-out isn't for a couple of more years, you have to make it seem to not only Bobby Witt, but to Jack Caglione, we are committed to winning. And you have to understand, and we'll see what happens with the CBA stuff, and will there be a salary cap? Will there be a limit on how many years you can give out in a contract? But the Royals are likely never going to be the New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Mets, or the Phillies when it comes to spending a lot of money.
Seems unlikely.
However, this past offseason, the Baltimore Orioles coming off of a very similar year to what the Royals are going through right now. Remember, the Orioles lost to the Royals in 2024. They did not re-sign Corbin Burns as a higher-seeded team. They had the home field in the wild card series, but they didn't spend money on Corbin Burns. They said, we love our young core. We got Adley Rutschman. We have Jackson Holliday. We've got Gunnar Henderson. Our staff's going to be fine. The Orioles sucked last year. They were bad. And Mike Elias, who had turned around the Houston Astros, had turned around the Baltimore Orioles, he went into the offseason and goes, we can't do this again. And they gave a lot of money to Pete Alonso. They went out and outbid the New York Mets, a place that I believe Pete Alonso never wanted to leave. And the Orioles said, we're giving you a contract that probably 4 years down the road is not going to look good, but we need to win now. We cannot have another down season. And they went and spent quite a bit of money. They went out and traded Grayson Rodriguez for Taylor Ward, and they have a pretty flashy offense. They're still under 500, but they're right there in the thick of it.
But where would they be without 18 and 55 from Alonso?
Yeah.
And
where would they be?
Yeah.
It's a fair question. And that's the type of contract that you go, we're really paying for the front half of this. Yeah. We'll get there when it gets to the back half. Same way when the Padres gave Manny Machado that deal. We forget that at the time, the Padres were not the Padres as they are now. It's not, of course, they're not really where the Dodgers are, but they had gave Hosmer the big contract, and it was, wow, the Padres are spending money. And then they went and got Machado. And now we see what that contract looks like for Manny Machado, but they wouldn't trade what Manny was like for the first couple of years. That's what the Royals need to do. I understand the market's never really in their favor, but at some point you got to give out that contract where it's, damn, that's 7 years. You're paying him $28 million, $30 million a year. They almost gave that type of money to Anthony Santander. I'm glad they didn't. But that's a dice roll I want to see from J.J. McCole in the offseason, because you have to convince Bobby Witt Jr. and Jack Caglione, if these are our final years together playing together, then I need to know that you're going into every single season, not that everything goes right, they win 90 games. It is they're going to win 90 games. They are the highest spending team in the Central. They are the team you are supposed to beat. Because it's not likely, in my opinion, you're going to keep Bobby Witt Jr. here for his entire career and Jack Caglione. There's going to be a lot of money involved there. And you don't want to put all of your money into two players. Then what's going to happen to the rest of your roster? You have to pay. If you do want to pay those guys, then that's the move you got to make. Like, you want to give Jack Caglione the extension, you got to do that. But it's about damn time the Royals go out there and give that big contract to somebody. You think the Tigers are all that thrilled with what Framber Valdez has done? Probably not, right? He's throwing at guys. He's been better of late, but they gave him a lot of money, knowing that Tarek Skubal's free agency was coming up. So it's almost their buffer of, if we don't sign him, we have Framber Valdez. But their idea was, even though the season's gone sideways for them, we want to go from Skubal to Valdez. Because why did we lose in the postseason? Why did we fall short to Seattle? Because we had to go from Skubal to a opener, basically, in every other game.
Pitcher.
That's the type of move I want to see. I want the lineup to go, well, if you want Carter Jensen leading off, and you want Bobby in the 2-hole, and you want Caglione third, and you want Vinny fifth, go get your cleanup hitter. Go get somebody that's going to move the needle, where I don't need to look at advanced metrics. I don't even need to look at any sort of platoon split. I want to pencil in 30 bombs and 100 RBIs. I want to see durability. I know it's going to be expensive, but to compete in Major League Baseball, and as I said, we'll see what happens with the lockout and this and that, you have to spend money. And even if we're going to go, well, look at the Rays. Look at Cleveland always winning their division. Does Cleveland get that far in October? They did in 2016. Because they were really aggressive at the deadline. They had a superstar for cheap in Francisco Lindor and Jose Ramirez, and Carlos Santana was still good. Jason Kipnis was still good. They had an elite bullpen. They assembled what was the 2015 Royals, basically. But in today's game, you got to spend money. It's not going to answer all your problems. The Mets fired Carlos Mendoza today, and they have a top 5 payroll. But you can't be bottom 5 and expect to win a World Series in this era. You can't go up against the Dodgers with the 27th best payroll in baseball. And this offseason, you need to make that jump from 24th, 25th to like 10th, in my opinion. You got to go get a couple of deals that, yeah, it might not work out. But you know what also might not work out? You continuing to roll out the same guys saying, well, look what they did in this year. Look what they did in this year. I want you paying for a guy of what they just did, not what they could be. Who they are now. Take a quick break, come back, wrap up hour number 1 of the program. Wrapping up hour number 1 of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm your host, Jack Johnson. Curtis Seabolt here. Kyle Collier producing this thing. We got Danny Unleashed to open up hour number 3, so we'll get Danny's thoughts on the World Cup, NFL, probably circle back later on for Major League Baseball, just since we covered the entire first hour with Royals talk and what they might do in the offseason. I'm looking right now for the free agents out there for the upcoming year. So, yeah, Suzuki might make a little bit of sense. Randy Arozarena, if you're looking for a left fielder.
Arozarena.
There are guys you can go out there and give a big contract to. I'm sure Taylor Ward will be of interest to the Royals. He has been since 1995, I'm sure. Maybe not Jazz Chisholm.
No.
But there are options. There are bats you can spend on. It might be a little bit expensive. It might be an expensive deal.
We shall have no jerk fiddles in the Royals clubhouse.
No.
He and his lollipop can
blow pop. Yeah.
Go somewhere else.
We'll get to that another day. We've covered enough now. Danny coming up next.
Guess I'm going to hear Jack's voice all day. How many players have had 17 consecutive seasons with at least 150 hits? Brought to you by Twin Peaks.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
Hour number 2 of the program begins with Danny Unleashed. He's here in studio. Danny Cleekscale, Curtis Seabolt, Kyle Collier producing this thing. I am your fill-in host, Jack Johnson. Danny, how we doing this afternoon?
We're doing fine. Always glad to be here in sponsorship with Easton Roofing, all the fine work that they do. So always ready to roll and always enjoy a little more relaxed time with Jack Johnson.
Yes, always. How much have you been keeping up with the World Cup? And I know we're all watching the United States, but soccer's on everywhere right now. Soccer's in Kansas City. If you haven't been seeing those videos from Power and Light downtown leading up to that match at Arrowhead, just go look on any sort of platform right now. It's quite ridiculous. So how much have you been keeping up with it?
Well, I watch every game.
Every one.
I obviously haven't watched all of every game,
Yeah.
but
The ones that are available to you.
I usually, they're all available, but I usually get up every day and peel through as many games as I can working out. I usually try to pick out maybe one game that seems like, more significant than the other. If you don't go in chronological order, the scores will be there. I might watch one of them at night. So I'm usually like sort of a half a day behind, but I try to watch them all. I've enjoyed the action tremendously. The top stars have been in great form. I love it. I can't get enough. And, you can get all you want. I was going to actually do the march yesterday, the Orange March, but I couldn't do the march in the day. That was conflicted. But then I was still going to go to the Fan Fest, but then that was canceled. So I think that the Netherlands has a very good chance to win, but I also have a little bit of a soft spot for the Netherlands because my daughter lives in that country. And I visited Amsterdam last year, and I like their team. But it's one of, I think, a handful of teams that has an excellent chance to win. I don't think that includes the United States, but I think it's fabulous that the United States has made enough waves to have people excited. Maybe that took a tiny bit of a hit yesterday, but that game didn't matter. I wouldn't say it was the equivalent of a Chiefs 17th week game when they're going to play in the playoffs and they sit Patrick Mahomes. I think probably had a little more significance than that, just because you want to keep your form rolling, etc. But it was kind of an analogy to that. So I don't think you have to make too much about it. Their coach, Pochettino, has pretty much, whenever a game has not actually mattered, and that's been most of the games he's coached because they have not had to go through the qualifying process, he's really treated them more as a training session or a friendly or whatever. And I think he did that with this game. Would it have been better if they won? Sure, because it would have shown that their reserve players, most of whom were playing, are there to chip in if needed or be substitutes. And I don't think they showed much in that game. They're okay. They scored a couple of goals. So I think it's exciting. I think the whole thing is tremendously exciting. I think Kansas City in the United States and North America has turned out well. I think that I still would complain about the fact that you shouldn't gouge people who really love a sport to the extent that they have with the ticket prices, but you can't argue with supply and demand because there's not an empty seat to be seen. The places are packed, and it also looks like it's not just a corporate type of thing like you see like at the Super Bowl. It looks like these are real people who've made great sacrifices to not only travel and spend a lot of money, but buy the tickets and merchandise and the like. So I think it's been fantastic. I've been immersed in it.
So you didn't have the United States as one of your teams that could win the whole thing.
No, not even.
Not even close. I was going to say, what's their ceiling then? How far can they really make it?
I still think that winning a game in the knockout round is still an accomplishment, but I think that as far as the expectations have been raised now for most people, I think that they still will go out in the round of 16, but I think the way the draw has fallen out, the possibility is better now that they could perhaps reach the quarterfinals, and that would be an astounding accomplishment. I mean, at any one time during the last cycle, they've probably been anywhere from the 15th to the 20th ranked team in the world. So that would lend itself to around the last 16. They probably played better than that in the last couple of friendlies and in the first 2 games that they played, or at least the first game and a half. And then, like I said, the game was more of a training exercise yesterday. So I think, and they get a pretty good draw. Bosnia is the 60th ranked team in the world. I think they're probably better and more dangerous than that. But for instance, they don't have a single player who plays in the Premier League, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a couple of guys who play in the championship. Most of the guys play in the Bundesliga. But they're tough and they're a veteran team and they've been around a lot. So, I mean, they're not going to be an easy out. I don't think that's, from this point forward, I don't think that exists for the United States. But I think it's created a lot of excitement. And that's great. It's better than the alternative.
Are we going to get Portugal, Argentina in the round of 8? I know a big one tomorrow with Portugal and Colombia to see who wins that group. But
well, I think there's just going to be a tremendous amount of fascinating matchups. And, right off the bat, you're going to have games that, it looks like Netherlands playing Morocco. I mean, that's a great game right out of the box in 32. But we still have a lot, the whole schedule is still to be played out. But the United States knows who they're going to play. A lot of people do know who they're going to play, but some of it still remains to be decided. So I think from this point forward, you're going to see a lot of great games. I mean, we've had a lot of great games anyway. We've had great stories with teams that have won their first point or their first game, or I don't think we've had any incredible Cinderella reach the knockout stage. Scotland probably would have been the one that would have been the most fun in this country to have, but they didn't quite get it done. So I think it's going to be fabulous. It continues to be fabulous. I've loved every bit of it.
It would be amazing if, as much deservedly fanfare, the Messi hat trick game here, the first game ever played here, that it could be topped. People were ranking, where does that rank all time in events at Arrowhead Stadium? That it could be topped not barely a month later if those two face off in the quarterfinal. If it's Ronaldo and Messi, I mean, that place is going to be. They may need a new stadium by before the new one's ready to. Because
I'm kind of I've never been.
Is there too much of that?
No. I think it's fabulous. People, it's to be the two greatest players of this generation. Now, I've never been much of a Ronaldo fan. I think he's a very self-interested player, and now he's just super selfish. And I don't think he really cares much about doing anything but piling up accomplishments. You don't go play in the Saudi league if you really care about your legacy, or who, like he needed the money,
right?
But he can still bury goals. So I think it'd be a cool phenomenon. I probably will be hoping that Portugal stubs their toe before then. It's going to be great no matter who is there. That's a quarterfinal. It's one of the last 8 games. It's going to be a fabulous game no matter who's playing in it.
The flip side of that, as far as drama at Arrowhead, will be the next match, Algeria and Austria.
You mean the game on Saturday?
Yeah, the game where the team that wins gets the more difficult draw in the round of 32, because the winner has to go play Spain. The loser gets to play, I think, Switzerland or somebody else. It's
the loser for sure in yet. That's the
sure,
only thing.
But
Thunderdome.
The projections.
They both have 3 points. I need help.
Our senior World Cup expert. Thunderdome.
Are both Austria and Australia on to the next round? They only have 3 points. I thought somebody losing was bad. Australia is, but Austria is not.
I was reading a story in the Wall Street Journal about the fact that.
So it's not completely a dead rubber game right now. I mean, there was a game back in the day that many people suspect the two sides got together and said, let's just have a draw because it was good for both teams.
Yeah.
In this case, Austria losing, they could be out. So it's not the same kind of scenario. That's what I thought. Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, the article I was talking about was in the Wall Street Journal. They mentioned that specifically.
It was in 1982.
It was the disgrace of Jirol or Jabol or something along that line. It was a city where the game was Jagan, where the game was played, and because the headline caught some people's eyes, and they thought, because it said, "Could we be heading toward the disgrace of Kansas City?" And a lot of KC fans saw that post, didn't read the story, and thought, "What are you talking about? We're so territorial here."
Right.
It was specifically referencing this upcoming match.
Literally, the two teams just kicked the ball around for 90 minutes, and it was a 0-0 draw.
And people spent money to go and watch that.
We joked
maybe
about
$10 back then, but
we joked about if it was that type of a match, like they're just going to keep own goaling until
four corners,
31-30 here. Every time the ball's kicked back to the goalie, he just turns and fires it into the net.
Like I said, thankfully one of the teams has incentive to win, and hey, a nation like Australia, they're a sports-loving nation, and they're not a great, they haven't had great accomplishment in soccer. They've got maybe the best nickname in the tournament, the Socceroos. So I think they'll be fired up to win. I mean, look at Turkey yesterday. They had nothing to play for. They played their asses off and beat the United States.
I thought the final cut when we played it in the Open. I'm not sure who was on the call last night, but he said they may be going home tomorrow, but they're going wild tonight.
Right.
That was fantastic.
It was great. There's some very good announcers. My sister, who's a big soccer fan, absolutely cannot stand Derek Ray. He's the guy who pronounces all of the names exactly like the dialect of the country involved, be it Germany or Italy or whatever.
And Mexico.
And she's like, but even the other starters, the German ones, and everyone, like, all the guttural sounds and everything.
Stop
he
showing
does that
off.
for everything.
Don't do the old glottal stop.
Right. So, but I think Ian Darke is fabulous, and even though Landon Donovan sounds like he just had a couple of hits on the bong before he starts the game, he's real mellow. I think he's great. I think his analysis is fabulous. So I enjoy him very much.
While we're on that topic, what do you think of the base of the host, the studio crew? Zlatan doesn't seem to add a lot. I think he's funny. I mean, it's an acquired taste. I think Alexi Lalas has driven people crazy. There's all kinds of articles from the soccer soccer media critic side that just want him out. Do they just not like him or not like what he offers?
I saw
one article that's
always been very smug, and he tries to do things I think that are self-promotional and are not just based on analysis, but are based on being provocative or whatever. I think the show is the best when the Americans are playing, because then he's not on the set. He goes to the game itself.
I saw one column that you would have thought that Alexi Lalas beat this guy up in high school every day and took his lunch money. I've never heard
well, he has political views that are not popular with some and are very popular with others.
Yes. So, I was like, wow, this dude is just
maybe
unloading.
In this soccer environment, it might lean toward one side more than the other. I think Zlatan is very funny if you just have, you get past, who can dislike Zlatan? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I am Zlatan.
Yeah, and Thierry Henry is very quiet, but he's an excellent analyst. He and Landon could have a quiet off on who's the quietest. But I mean, Zlatan, just the most famous one ever that he did was they asked him what he was getting his wife for her birthday, and he says, "She needs no present. She has Zlatan."
That's so good.
But I think he provides some good analysis too. In an understated way, he'll just say, well, he was the one who said, "Ronaldo, you don't need to score. Your team needs to score."
Wow.
After a game, because the one they tied 1-1.
Yeah. So one of those guys that isn't going to fill up the notebook, but if you pay attention,
right,
the things he says are of value.
Right,
which I actually like.
And Rebecca Lowe is brilliant. She's the main host on Premier League also, and she's great. Right, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say to tie in Kansas City here.
Thank you.
We have seen so many videos downtown around Arrowhead Stadium. I've seen many comments of, Arrowhead's never seen anything like this. Downtown's never seen anything like this for a city that has hosted multiple parades, both for the Royals and the Chiefs. What is your take on that? Because as Curtis said, Kansas City is, I would say, defensive. If you're talking about them nationally, it better be in good faith. It better be positive things.
Territorial.
But I also think it's very territorial about the teams, where you'll see people for the World Cup go, it's never been this loud. They've ever had an environment like this. But people would say, well, you weren't there for the decibel record-breaking game against New England. You weren't there for these AFC title games. You weren't there for this at Kauffman Stadium. Is this something that has never, I mean, obviously it's never been seen before to this level, but is it just unique in its own way? Was that the loudest Arrowhead ever was? Is this the craziest that downtown has ever been? What's your take on it?
Well, I think soccer's just a different kind of sport. I mean, culturally, Chiefs fans don't yell and sing the whole game. I mean, it's just not a culture thing that, or bang drums or do, and this, the soccer is a sport where there's very few goals scored. 2-1 is a pretty high-scoring game. 3-2 is like crazy. And goals are super important, and they are celebrated like nothing else. I mean, you just have to see the things in the stands. I mean, they do make a touchdown celebration for the Chiefs look somewhat, just that's fantastic. These fans are happy. They're great. These fans are delirious. I mean, this is like the greatest day of their life, and I'm sure they would say it. In the United States, what do we say? What do we see when a golfer or any person, no matter what, they'll say, "Well, so what's your reaction here?" And it's just the natural thing to say is, "This is the greatest day of my." Well, except for the birth of my children or my wedding day. Yeah. No way that if you go up to somebody, from Curacao after they scored a goal, they're saying this is the greatest moment of my life, bar none. Sorry, honey. So, and the other difference in the downtown thing is that it was expressed by someone in Sam McDowell's column today. He writes, every column he writes is very good. The man said, I wasn't going to miss this for the world. And he says, I was at the Chiefs parade. I was at the Royals parade. He says, but I can be in this one.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you can't be in the parade, right. The Chiefs parade, but you can just be in this one. You can run along with the bus, and you can run down Grand Avenue. So I think it is different, but it's just culturally different. I think Chiefs fans want to say that they think it's been louder there. That's fine. The decibel record is garbage anyway, so who cares?
Yeah. It's also a difference in, it's one thing to have rooted for the team in your hometown, but when it's your country and it's a thing, it is your country's sport. There really isn't any comparison to an Argentinian rooting for Argentina in the World Cup, because the only sports that are that big in this country are football and to a lesser degree baseball, but they don't have a national team that's been playing at the highest level where you can have that kind of rooting interest for decades.
Well,
it's impossible to replicate that in this country.
The United States also, sure, football is king, but it's not even close to as popular in the United States as soccer is in almost every one of these countries. Mm-hmm. There are some exceptions. Australia would be one. New Zealand would be one. Those are rugby nations more. India would be one. That's a cricket nation. But, for the most part, this is the biggest sport far and away in these countries. A couple of them, the winter sports would be a bigger deal, but nothing like for most countries. It's religion. It is truly religion.
Religion and nationalism at the same thing.
Yeah, that's a dangerous cocktail right there.
It can, but in that context, it's generally
positive.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, and I don't think you can. To me, when you're looking at the celebrations and the stands and the different cultures and everything, this is the type of thing that I think everybody should be embracing or should embrace. There's nothing really political going on here at all. These are just people from a country that they love or a sport that they love, And in many cases, they are making incredible sacrifices to be at these games. There was stories and when they had the Russian World Cup about people in Colombia, they sold their cars to go to Russia to watch the games, and they come back, they've got no car.
Wow, that's dedication.
So you can see these people and a lot of these people in the stands. They don't look like bankers and CEOs. When you look regular folks.
When you look around at like some of the prices, these people, because they're from somewhere else, they're not getting it for $150.
Well, and also think of some of the things they've had to do to get here.
Yes, just getting here is one thing,
and to travel here. There's somebody who. A group of people rode their bicycles from Argentina to here.
That's amazing.
I think they took off months ago.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's a global spectacle right now. And yeah, it does for a lot of these people, it's their life. This is not just, we like to say it all the time, well, it's just a game. It's just a game. We're all having fun. We're watching a game. This feels very life or death for a lot of people.
And they all undoubtedly played.
Yes.
It's an easy game to play, like the commercials they're running. All you need is a ball, really.
And some grass.
The only sport that's sort of akin to it in our country is probably basketball.
Yeah, just need a hoop.
And really, you can get along without a hoop. I spent many hours throwing behind the back basketball passes off a brick wall.
Yeah.
I've done that. So
a ball and some grass.
That's right. So I just think the whole thing has been cool, and I think that for most people, they have watched it and probably think that it has in every way lived up to all the hype. I think going in, there was a lot of people talking about the numbers and will there be disappointment, and there still has been the occasional article in the Star or whatever about Westport owners say, streets are empty during game, or, that it's not having necessarily the kind of impact they would like. But for the most part, it's been tremendous reaction culturally and everything else, because a lot of people come here and they just want to be here. They can't afford the tickets to the games.
And the financial impact wasn't just going to be felt this year. I mean, how many people, we began to talk about this earlier this week, someone comes here and goes, wow,
we had a great experience.
How many people have come here and gone, I had no idea the Midwest was this, had these nice people, this possibility. How many companies? Some guy is at a game, he's like, we've been thinking about moving our company to a Midwestern place.
How many young Algerians are going to go to the University of Kansas after this?
The financial impact, it may not make $1 this year, but it could make an immeasurable difference in the next 10 years.
Right, and the Fan Fest is generally a FIFA and corporate event, but
and I think there'll be numbers to track.
People, I just was at the chiropractor, the guy who is my adjuster. He went last week with his kids. He had a wonderful time. He said, "Well, we didn't stay long." I said, "Well, how long did you stay?" He goes, "Well, about 3.5 hours." I said, "Well, that's pretty good. pretty good stay there." With 8 and 9-year-old kids. So the whole thing's been amazing to me.
Yeah, it's everywhere, not just Kansas City. It's been really phenomenal to watch every day, everywhere around the world.
The only other thing that we could have gotten here in Kansas City would have been a United States game. That's the only, if you wanted to look at one fly in the ointment, but probably getting the Messi game and getting a potentially other Messi game here for most people is probably almost better than that.
Getting a quarterfinal, a World Cup quarterfinal is just crazy.
It is. It's the stadiums do somewhat look the same now on television. I would say Toronto looked a little different.
Unless they pull back a little bit, you can see some.
But it's just got the name of the town there. They're big. They're full. The fans are packed in there. So it's hard to actually differentiate. I would say that the Los Angeles Stadium still looks fabulous all the time on television, no matter what.
It's ridiculous.
Yep.
Well, we'll see how far the U.S. makes it here. Next game will be on
Wednesday.
So that's next time you can watch the United States. They did fall last night, but it was a thrilling game. I mean, it was
an exciting
and it's. I'm glad it did not matter in the long run for the United States, but
to lose in
The only thing that it would
minute
do
of the game, that would be.
And they come out healthy, right?
Yes.
Pulisic
Yep,
is
come out-
full
yep.
go.
Pulisic got to play. He got smashed down one time, absorbed that. So I think in general, it was not really a negative.
You got a thrilling game, and now you get to see them play again on Wednesday. Let's take a quick break. You're listening to the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, the Twin Peaks into the hour answer. It's Rod Stewart Day on the program. How many players have had 17 consecutive seasons with at least 150 hits? I'll tell you
How many?
Yeah, I'll tell you there are only 5 players have ever had 17 hits seasons of 150 or more. Period.
Okay.
How many did it in succession?
Well, some of the greatest hitters you probably scratch off because they didn't play that long or they were interrupted, like Ted Williams. I don't think Tony Gwynn played long enough.
Pete Rose?
Nope. He did have 18 seasons, but not in succession. He had them over a span of 19 years. So,
Wow, this. Paul Molitor?
nope.
Hank Aaron?
Hank Aaron, 1955 to 1971.
Frank Robinson?
Nope.
Rod Carew?
Nope.
What?
Not 15 straight. Not even. He had 13 seasons.
He didn't even walk. How did he not
I
get
know.
150 hits?
And he didn't have as many hits as you'd think he would have. Like, he just got over 3,000 like in his last season, I think.
How about George Brett?
No.
Oh, he was hurt too much.
All right, did you say, is it all old school or is it?
No.
Ooh.
He has his career began.
Oh, so there's only one left.
Yeah, I guess I do this a lot. I give it's 2. I mean, there was only
It's gotta
there
be
weren't
somebody
going to
who's-
be many more because I said there were only 5 and you guys have named 2 of them.
One's recent.
Guy played in both centuries.
Chipper Jones.
That's a good guess.
They've shared a World Series field a couple times.
Is it a Yankee?
It is
Derek Jeter.
Derek Jeter.
Wow.
Derek Jeter
makes
and
sense.
Hank Aaron, the
He didn't
only
walk
2 to
very
have
much
17 straight.
And how many total years did Jeter play?
He played from 96 to 2014.
But he generally played every day.
So one
Yeah.
season he did not.
2 seasons.
2 seasons he did not have
13 and
100.
14. He actually played from 95 to 14. So from 96 to 2012. The other players that had at least 17 seasons, Tris Speaker and Ty Cobb.
Why didn't I think of either one of them? That was pretty dumb.
You might not believe me, but I did have Jeter on my mind earlier.
I don't believe
I
you.
just,
By the way, he's
I said you don't have to believe
He's
me.
52
kidding.
today.
Yeah, no, I should have thrown that one out. there.
Overrated?
Well,
Not as overrated as Lou Brock,
I
right?
don't. No, he's not as overrated as Lou Brock, but
Who is?
I think that most people who dive into the analytics, and if you like analytic defensive metrics, are going to say he's overrated.
Yeah.
That's the thing that gets him overrated. I don't think the leadership and the offense. He was a good offensive player.
1,900 runs scored.
Right, and
3,400
right.
hits.
I think if he was born in another era, there would be no equivocation of his greatness. It's just that the analytics had developed to the point where people enjoyed saying that he wasn't a very good shortstop.
Yeah,
and that, like, for instance,
and if he played for
that A-Rod should have played shortstop when he came to the Yankees.
Yeah. And if he'd come up with Milwaukee,
I was going to say, if
and
he was
didn't,
not a
you know,
Yankee, would it have been different? Would he have
decided
been viewed
that
differently?
because of that, had to play for 4 or 5 different teams.
He also did great things in the postseason.
Yep.
They were there so much.
Overrated seems like a harsh term to use for somebody who, if you want to poke holes in his defense, go ahead, I guess. The offensive numbers and the postseason moments, and we can say this and still dislike the Yankees, that you can't downplay that. We don't need to do the dumb game of like, well, Andrelton Simmons was a better defensive shortstop than well, sure, go ahead, but
And just an electric personality.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
okay.
and also just some of the. He's also now falling, or has fallen into the category, or may still fall into the category of lack of post-career success in his chosen fields.
Yeah, he's tried, not
multiple
working.
things. So you can poke holes in it. He didn't walk. I mean, there are things that he did. There are things he didn't do. But I'm not anti Derek Jeter in any way.
Well, we did talk a lot of baseball in hour number 1. Before you go, we'll definitely circle back to it. But For the first time today, I do want to talk a little football with you because
Oh, goody.
yes,
He loves
with the way
football.
things are going for the Royals, I know we got the Major League Baseball draft coming up and the trade deadline. I promise we'll get to that at some point. But Chiefs-wise, NFL-wise, one of the topics of conversation we're going to have today is really just predicting and trying to give our reasons for Patrick Mahomes, Rashee Rice, playing time this year, how available they're going to be. With Mahomes, we know it's just about the knee injury. You get the reports that he's likely trending towards starting week 1. There shouldn't be any hang-up there. I'm of the opinion that when you've got a guy that months before the season has started, you've got national reporters saying everything looks good, he's trending in the right direction. But I also believe if he's 99%, they're not going to run him out there. They're going to want to make sure he is 100%.
I disagree with
You
that.
think they're going to run him out below 100%?
Yes, 100%.
Why is that?
100% they'll run him out there under 100%. Because they won't, first of all, they won't really, they're football coaches. That's why.
But doesn't Andy Reid typically holds guys out longer than they should?
Yeah, he does, but Patrick Mahomes isn't going to be 100% of Patrick Mahomes for the rest of his life.
That's a fair.
So then, I guess he should just sit on the bench from now going forward.
Then what's the lowest percentage that he would have to?
He'd have to be, for me, he'd have to be, I'd play him if he was, it just depends on whether the doctors are saying, there's chance for further injury. If he's 85% up to speed, and it's going to get a little better as time goes on. I mean, we've seen that in, it's like guys who break their hamate bone, they lose their power they can still play, but so no, the thought that they're going to, wait until he's just ticking like a, fine Swiss watch, I think it's football.
So how much of the first couple games of the season will they have to be limited with what they do? For example, how much, you go out there and you pay Kenneth Walker, you trade up and use a 5th-round pick on Emmett Johnson out of Nebraska, you give a 1-year deal to Amari DiMercado. How much of the first couple weeks of the season will be run-heavy, run-focused? Because though he might not have any risk of injury there, he's not going to be doing the same stuff he once was, which is scrambling around in the pocket, running 40, 50 yards before throwing a pass 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. Is that going to be something you have to factor in where he might only, throw the ball, give or take 20 to 25 times a game?
I think you should want to do that anyway. What we've seen is they've tried playing Patrick Mahomes Superman football for the last 3 years, and it hasn't worked. Okay? As great as he is, they've been an average offense for 3 years now. So you need to run the football more. Yes, he'll still be able to do spectacular things. These plays he's made, these off, chart plays, most of them have not been based on some kind of electric athleticism. Anybody, you can watch him run and everything. You can tell he's not an Olympic athlete. It's based on instinct, and he's just fast enough to scramble away. He's got the instinct. He's got the great spatial awareness. He'll still have all those things. I expect some of that to still be there. For instance, it's just over at the chiropractor, they had a regular season NFL game. I was laying there trying to figure out, didn't the Saints onside kick to start the second half?
Yes, against the Colts.
Right, yeah. And but I only had the Saints, and then it turns out it was the Steelers and the Saints just playing a regular season game from 12 years ago. And I'm like, who would watch this? Anyway, it was Ben Roethlisberger's playing. His escapability was remarkable in the pocket, and it was based on strength, certainly, but it was also based on instinct and a lot of other things. Mahomes will still have that. So at first I said I didn't think that he was going to be back for the start of the season. Now, because of all these reports, I really feel like he is. And if he's not, it's just that he's taking a normal course of recovery, and that these people have all been hoodwinked by either him or watching a video of him throw a pass with a knee brace on. Okay, so what? But if he's ahead of schedule and everything, I am now trending towards thinking he's going to play right away and he's going to be fine. But that they should use him differently, which they should have even if he had never gotten hurt.
Are they going to regret not having any investment into the wide receiver room by week 8 or week 9? Like, we get middle of the season, and we know that they decided to go into the year with Rice as their number 1, Worthy as their 2, Tyquan Thornton as their 3, and probably Cyrus Allen as their number 4, being a rookie this year. Maybe Jalen Royals is the number 4 and Allen's a 5. Is that going to be something where we all look back and the Chiefs look back and say, that was a mistake, not giving any money to a wide receiver, waiting till round 5 or 6, whatever it was for Allen, to take a wide receiver? Or is this going to be a good-looking offense because they finally have a running game, therefore defenses will have to come down instead of dropping 8 in coverage because there was no threat to run the football the last couple of years?
I would tend to lean toward the fact that they're going to have some non-buyers regret, because Patrick Mahomes is not going to just throw the ball 22 times a game. It's just not going to happen. Yes, they still will use Kenneth Walker. They should use Kenneth Walker. But Andy Reid has never not thrown the football, and he's not going to change now. He has Patrick Mahomes, and if Patrick Mahomes is playing, then we assume he's at least close to being Patrick Mahomes. He's going to throw the football, and maybe we'll see that Rashee Rice is trying to prove a point, and maybe we'll see that Worthy plays a little bit better than he's shown, and that he can actually not play touch football and play tackle football out there. But yeah, I think they would have been well served. But they decided to. The Chiefs have always kind of, they've always kind of, and it's worked, so there's no reason to be critical of it. But when they lost the Super Bowl because they looked bad in the offensive line and it was a disaster, what'd they do? They've been a knee-jerk reaction type of team. And then they didn't run the football effectively last year. What'd they do? They signed the biggest free agent running back on the market. So they did that, and that obviously mitigates what they can actually do. And maybe they just figured, who we can get out there in the market is, just another. And they may not be done. I don't know. Is there anybody left of the veteran receivers who just doesn't want to go to camp? I don't know. But yeah, I would say right now that I don't like the receiving core that much, but I think there's upside there, and I think most of it depends on Rashee Rice and his dedication to his craft. I can't believe those words just came out of my.
Is he a lost cause at this point, where when somebody shows you who they are, how accountable they are after 3 or 4 years, you say, "Oh, I can't be surprised anymore," or are you actually still surprised every time something comes out, or he's videoed running from people?
Not surprised. No.
Not surprised at all.
Not surprised.
Is that going to change?
No, it's not going to change in the long term, but the Chiefs may get this year out of Rashee Rice, and then he goes and takes a big payday, and they wave goodbye, and then the next team deals with Antonio Brown. I mean, did Antonio Brown change?
I mean, I thought from the time he went to Pittsburgh to Vegas,
yes,
he did change. He did change a lot.
Well,
in the wrong direction.
You know what?
Wrong way.
Antonio Brown was Antonio Brown. We just didn't know it until he started Antonio Browning, and then he never stopped. So
it only got worse.
Rashee Rice just got a jump on it.
Yeah.
So I would say that what you are hoping for is that he's just going to be on good behavior this year because he needs the money. I would imagine he's burned through whatever money he's got. There's been some.
Oh, I don't know. He strikes me as
tidy legal fees that have been involved. I'm sure there's probably a couple things that we don't even know that he had to reach into his wallet to take care of.
He strikes me as a guy who I think has everything locked down, solid planning.
Well, there's somebody who called the show last week and just finally said, you can't fix stupid.
Yeah, the Ron White thing.
And I'm not even saying necessarily the guy's stupid, but some people are just wired to, think that some people just think it's cool to be like that, to be out there, and the man's not going to keep me down or whatever, And so far he's been that person. He's been lucky.
True.
Yeah.
To this point, he's been lucky. I mean, what he did was horrible, and and a couple other things might have been horrible. We just don't know enough. So that's what you're hoping for this year. That he knows that this is last chance rodeo for people thinking that he's. And then once he gets his money, I imagine that, like I said, the next team will just have to deal with him being him the rest of his days.
One thing I have thought about, and I'm sure that people have discussed this before, but if he comes out early on in the season and the production's not there, how quickly do you think the fan base turns on him? Where if you see a couple of games, it's like 2 catches for 12 yards, has a couple of drops, maybe gets a couple of penalties called against him because he loses his head for a bit. Like how long does the fan base give him?
They won't give him much time at all, but the thing that I'll find probably more appalling is if he does start to play great and everybody loves him. That'll be almost more egregious.
Get your appalling shoes on, or make sure they're within reach because you're going to need them.
Just used to remind me of I was in some public place several years ago, and a woman was wearing a Tyreek Hill jersey. Now it's just like, what? Pick another player. Come on. To wear the jersey. Go Mahomes at least. He's a nice man, family man. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I mean, first test for him in week 1 will be against Pat Surtain. So if he goes out there and gets locked down, it's not that he's a bad player because he's going up against one of the number 1 cornerbacks. But I've thought about that recently of all the stuff that's gone on and the production's not there. How many games do you give him where the fan base then starts to get a bit agitated? I mean, remember what it was with MVS?
Week 1, if he has 2 catches for 14 yards, he'll start right away.
That's fair.
Yes.
That's more than fair. Okay, let's take a quick break, come back, and wrap up hour number 2 of the program. We are wrapping up Danny Unleashed on the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Danny, we almost had a no-hitter to talk about today. We would have let off the show with it, but a combined no-hitter, I should probably say. The Royals used a position player in Tyler Tolbert. You were showing me the strike calls on the 40-mile-an-hour eephus pitches.
There were several that were jaw high.
Over the head?
That called us. These are the ones these are strike. He threw 4, 5, 6, 7. He threw 10 strikes. And 2 of them were really strikes. And 8 of them were not. Oh, one was behind. Oh, no, that's called strike. Yeah, there was one that eye high. There were 3 that are jaw high, and they were called strikes.
2 were to Caminero that were never close. If Kevin Cash would have left Ian Seymour in the game at 100 pitches, does he get the no-hitter? The combined no-hitter? I think he does. I don't think the Royals saw him well at any point.
I think he probably does too, and that's that's what made it. Hey, to me, a no-hitter is a no-hitter. Is it more special when one guy throws it? Of course it is. But you kept the other team from getting hits. That's legit.
Thanks again, Danny.
Yep.
It's time for the La Feta Italian Delicatessen end of the hour question. Located on the southeast corner of 143rd and Metcalf. La Feta Delicatessen. Bread made fresh each morning, coupled with the freshest ingredients and sauces created in-house for you each and every day.
All right, how many times in the last 50 years have the top 2 picks in the NBA draft come from the same conference? Brought to you by La Feta Delicatessen.
Hour number 3 of the program begins with the 2-minute drill brought to you by Joslin's. I am your host, Jack Johnson. Kyle Collier is producing this thing. And we're going to go around the country here. Talk a little college baseball, talk a little NBA, NFL. There really won't be much that we don't cover. And we're going to kick things off in OKC with Mark Rogers of WWLS, the Sports Animal, 98.1 FM. Mark, how are we doing this evening?
Great, Jack. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you as well. And I know in OKC, maybe one of the talking points over the last couple weeks, or was at one point, the Oklahoma Sooners dominating North Carolina in Game 3 of the College World Series. I know nationally, not a lot of people were expecting Oklahoma to make this type of run. They, of course, swept Kansas in the Super Regional, and we were covering that for a couple of weeks. But was this a surprise to Sooners fans?
Oh, yeah. They won 3 games, and Arlington to open the season against some really good teams, and we're in the top 10 for a while. But the pitching kind of abandoned them late in the year. They lost their last 4 series in the SEC, got beaten the first game of the SEC tournament, and then they get sent to Atlanta to face Georgia Tech, which is an incredible hitting team, and then they're down 8-2 in elimination game there. So from then on, the bats, the arms, the defense, all of it came together, and they played incredibly well. I mean, you saw the team in Kansas. I mean, those games weren't even close. So to beat the teams that they did on that run was pretty incredible.
Moving over to the NBA, we know the Thunder lost in Game 7 to the Spurs in the Western Conference Finals before the Spurs fell to the Knicks in the NBA Finals. How would you evaluate, though, what they did in the NBA draft, adding a guy like Mara out of Michigan, one of the top centers in college basketball, doing a trade later on in the draft? I mean, overall, were you pretty satisfied with what OKC was able to do in the NBA draft?
I think if you're a Thunder fan, you have to feel pretty good about having Sam Presti as the guy that's making those picks. I think a lot of what he does is try to look into the future and see where are we going to have areas of need when certain contracts come off of the books. And that makes sense to me, to bring in Bennett Sturts, who can create, is very good at pick and roll, which translates well to the NBA, because you're going to have decisions to make on the Thunder roster between Case and Wallace and A.J. Mitchell. You're not going to be able to afford all those guys with the commitments that they have to Chet, J-Dub, and SGA. So I think that Mara adds some size, versatility. I'm not sure about him. Wonder if his feet are good enough to play in the NBA on the perimeter. But it does give Oklahoma City some size that I think that they could have used in that series against the Spurs.
Now, by no means was a massively disappointing season for OKC. They were trying to go back-to-back, but losing in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, even at home, is nothing to look down upon. I'm sure the Thunder players and the Thunder fans were disappointed, but after a loss like that, what is the plan for this offseason? Is this going to be the biggest additions they make just through the NBA draft, or do you see them maybe getting a little bit more flexible and adding a player or two this offseason?
Yeah, they've already lost 2 of the guys that have been around for a long time to trades to try to reduce their salary, and Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins. I think Thunder fans have kind of come to the resolution, hey, if healthy, if we had Jalen Williams or had A.J. Mitchell, then the series might have gone a little bit differently. The Thunder were fortunate to deal with some teams that had injuries the year before in their championship run. So I think that the fans, and I would feel pretty good about this team next year if they can be healthy when it matters the most.
Mark, thanks so much for your time. Have a good weekend.
All right, sounds good. See you, Jack.
I guess now we just got to stall for a little bit. No worries at all. We're still waiting to get Travis Hancock from Charlotte on the line here. There was a move, as we were just discussing with Mark, where Isaiah Joe was involved in a trade earlier today, where they sent him to Detroit for 2 future second-round picks. Going to be very interesting to see what the expectation is going to be for OKC going into next season. You had a team that was trying to go back-to-back in the NBA Finals, and it was only Kyle, by the way. I remember leading up to the NBA Finals that it was only Kyle that went with the Spurs to win that series. Everybody else went with OKC,
That's
and
right.
I'm sure a lot of Thunder fans and just NBA fans were going, no way Wembanyama's going to do that. But also, you would have thought, there's no way Wembanyama's going to lose to the New York Knicks, and they only won 1 game in that series. All right, we got Travis Hancock on the line from Charlotte of 92.7 WFNZ. Travis, how we doing this evening?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I apologize if I'm interrupted. I got a new puppy like an hour ago, so I'm getting like mauled right now. So I'm going to try to fight through this best I can here.
Then we're not going to keep you on too long because we know how tough that can be. I do want to talk a little NBA.
My shoes are being chewed as I speak. But
oh,
it's
boy.
Okay. I'll get another pair, yeah.
Well, we won't keep you too long, I promise. Let's start NBA draft here, where you had Boozer going third to Memphis. You had Caleb Wilson going to the Bulls at 4. Did you like those fits? We kind of knew DeBonsa was going to go 1 to the Wizards, Darren Peterson 2 to the Jazz, but how did you like the fits for maybe the top 5 picks in the draft?
Yeah, I love them, and it became obvious along the way as most of the lottery became pretty easy to kind of figure out who was going to go where. Wasn't a lot of mystery about Boozer and Wilson. I think the mentality of Wilson fits sort of that Chicago mentality and what they need, and Boozer I think fits great for what they need in Memphis. And look, no matter where those guys go, we can debate which one's going to be better. I don't know. I think they're both going to be great. No matter where each guy went, I think they're going to be great. But I think they got great fits, and I really like Wilson in Chicago because they've been craving really a star like that for a long time, and that Derrick Rose phenom mold. So I really like him there, and I don't think Boozer has really room to disappoint. I think he is going to be great. It's just a matter of how great he is, because certainly showed last year that he is the real deal.
Looking at who the Hornets took, they get Steinbach with the 14th overall pick and also Christian Anderson, the guard out of Texas Tech, 16 overall. Those the right moves? Those the right picks for the Hornets as they try to maybe reshape a little bit?
Yeah, obviously we had a little bit of chaos after those picks, and maybe Christian Anderson made a little more sense after Lamelo got traded not too far after that. The way the board fell, Steinbach was one of their targets. I think any of the Michigan guys would have fit nicely, but once they were off the board, they needed a big, and if they didn't get Steinbach there, say he went one pick in front of them, where Miami picked in the Milwaukee spot ultimately. If Steinbach didn't go there and they needed a big, I don't really know what they would have done there in that selection. So I think he's a great rebounder. He fits in a physicality and a toughness and exactly what they need. And no, they got the right guy there. Anderson wasn't talked a lot about at 18. We thought Bennett Sturts is the guy they wanted, and maybe they did, and he went right before them. But then you know Melo gets traded hours later, and it makes a lot of sense of why they would want a combo, not a combo guard, but a point guard like that to be the backup to Kobe White, who's now the starting point guard.
Yeah, last one for you here, Travis. Really appreciate your time. It was a blockbuster trade, as you bring up, with LaMelo Ball. Why make this move, though? Because he had really been that centerpiece for a number of years. Is this just need a change of scenery? You need to try to get as many picks as you can. You get Naz Reid. Why did Charlotte, in the end, pull the trigger on a deal like this?
Yeah, they also get a $42 million trade exception, so we'll see how that plays in, which might be the biggest part of all this. They get a nice player in Naz Reid. That's the million-dollar question, and you know, right now, because it's not the league year, the brass doesn't have to answer questions until July 6th. So we're all kind of waiting to figure out what was the exact reason. Was it basketball reasons? Did they not like Melo, sort of the character that he is? We've heard a lot of different stuff. Was ownership not enamored with Melo, the person? Was it, you know, Zach Lowe did a great breakdown where he thought it was basketball related, where when you look at what you need to go forward with, you know, the teams we just saw, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, the Knicks, there's a level of physicality, there's a level of toughness, and they feel that for as good as Melo is there a ceiling where ultimately he wouldn't overcome those guys to get where they want to go? So we're all trying to figure out, is it basketball? Is it personality? Is it off the court? We really don't know. It's all speculation, and maybe it's injuries. It could be a combination of all those things, honestly.
Well, Travis, thanks so much for your time, and good luck with the new dog.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much for putting up with me here. I'm in a little bit of chaos right now.
No problem at all. Headed to LA to talk with Pete Fox of KLOS. And first things first, Pete, let's talk about the Lakers. Austin Reeves getting $185 million. Was this the right move by LA?
That remains to be seen. I think it even surprised Austin as to the amount that they paid him, because the Lakers were negotiating pretty hard to not have to pay him that money, but I guess they just got fearful that he was going to end up somewhere else, like maybe Detroit, and they didn't want to run the risk of losing him, so they just said, all right, here you go. It feels like a lot to me, but then again, I'm just not ever a fan in any sport of these big, long, high, year-to-year contracts. It very rarely works out to where everyone goes, yeah, that was a great deal for both sides. Obviously, it's great for the player, but quite frequently, when you look at the amount of money they've spent, and if it doesn't garner you, X amount of championships, you're kind of like, I don't know that it was worth it, So, look at the Angels and Albert Pujols. Would you look back and say that was a good deal for them? They would say yes, because the fans showed up, but they were terrible and still are during that whole run. So I think they could have better spent that money in other places. But again, that's an organizational problem with the Angels, and we're not here to talk about that. So I'm just not ever a huge fan of these deals. To me, I would never give Austin Reeves $185 million, but that's what the Lakers chose to do. So we'll see if it works out to their benefit.
Not only one of the biggest questions of the NBA offseason, but it will be the biggest question for the Lakers moving forward. Where is LeBron James going to go to finish out his career? There's been some rumors that he might return to Cleveland. Is this going to be a situation that plays out where, in the end, LeBron's going to come back to L.A. and finish out his career there? Or do you see him going elsewhere to close out his historic career?
I feel like I can't wait for LeBron to retire, so we don't have to go through these questions coming from you, which is like, I'm sure you've asked me personally this question multiple times, and I know everyone else has too. It's like every few years this question comes up about LeBron. It was Kobe before. Where's Kobe going? What's next? The bottom line is LeBron is a master when it comes to this marketing stuff, and he's doing it to benefit himself, to get more money, to create interest, create hype, all of these things. He does it all the time, has done it many, many times before. So, yes, we've heard rumors about Cleveland and Miami before. I think that's just, people out there speculating in the blogosphere, if you will. I don't think there's any sort of deal that would make LeBron say, at this age, yeah, I'm leaving. I don't think he would be excited to leave. I don't think he wants to leave. Even if, say, Miami went and gave Bronny way too much money for his mediocre amount of skill, I still think LeBron would be like, all right, good for you, kid. I'm staying here. So he's just trying to manipulate and massage the Lakers to get as much as he can for one more year. And it's like, all right, enough already. But, they were good last year. So I don't feel like LeBron is a liability to this team. It feels like he's still got a little bit of gas in the tank. He's not their number one, probably not even their number two, but he's good enough to play professional basketball, and he brings butts in the seats. So at the end of the day, the owners, being the Mark Walters Group, Guggenheim, et cetera, now that the buses don't own them anymore, they want butts in the seats too. So things are going to be different now that Guggenheim owns the team, or the majority of the team. But when it comes to this, I don't think it's going to be that dramatically different. I think it's a dance. It's back and forth. He's going to pretend like there's other options on the table. But in reality, to me, it feels like at this age, why would he want to pack up and go back to Miami? I know that they're a hot team right now, and they're very interesting because of Giannis and so forth and so on. But anything's possible with LeBron for sure. We've seen that, but I would be surprised if he's not a Laker in his final season.
We saw the Clippers take one of the local kids here in Keaton Wagler with the 5th overall pick. How do you see it going in year one for a guy like him who had such a great year at Illinois in his true freshman season?
It's always a huge question with the Clippers. You just never know what you're going to get. He obviously they're going to want him to be, good and ready probably before he is. So, this is a team that is very mediocre. Kawhi Leonard is still there, and whether or not he's a liability is another big question, and whether or not they should keep going down that road. He's old and he's on the bench, rooting more than anything. I mean, Kawhi Leonard is a check casher. That's what he is. And he can show up once every 3 or 4 days and put up 30 to 40. But does that make you a good team? No, it doesn't. And they don't have the pillars of a foundation of a good organization. So I feel like this guy to the Clippers is their future, which won't involve Kawhi Leonard. It feels to me like they're hoping that he can take over and become a leader of this team, and they can rebuild around him, because what they have now is just parts. They're a chicken nugget of the NBA.
And lastly, do you want to talk a little baseball with you? The Dodgers at 52-29 sit atop the NL West. They are trying to make it 3 straight World Series. And we know the trade deadline is approaching. Still got a couple of weeks to go here. But do you see them upgrading anywhere? We know they're always aggressive. We know they have the best roster in baseball. But is there one glaring issue that they need to have addressed?
No, there really isn't. I mean, the big rumor floating around here is Tarek Skubal, and whether or not they can put a deal together for him. Obviously, he's a not a prospect, he's a hot commodity, and everybody wants him, but you start looking at who's capable of getting him for the Tigers. It really kind of comes down to who's willing to give up, a haul from their system. And it doesn't feel like there are many people that are capable of doing that other than the Dodgers, coupled with the amount of money that he would require. But when you throw the CBA into the whole mix and the potential of a salary cap, it obviously gets really crazy and interesting. And, there's a lot of unanswered questions. But if there's anybody that could acquire him from a we'll pay you now kind of a thing, and we've got, a ton and a half of prospects, which ones do you want kind of a deal, in spite of no need for him, because, the Dodgers, even without Blake Snell being, came back for one game and then went back on the IL, and then Tyler Glass now banged up again, like he always is, but he'll be back in time for the playoffs. In spite of those two guys being out, their starting rotation is very good. They don't need Tarek Skubal, but they're the Dodgers, and they'll probably go get him. So don't be surprised if that happens, and that'll piss off everybody, I'm sure.
Pete, thanks so much for your time. Have a good one.
You too, man. Thanks.
All right, we're headed to Milwaukee to talk with Josh DiMaggio of ESPN Milwaukee. First things first, Josh, how are we doing this evening?
I am doing wonderful, enjoying some Summerfest here in Milwaukee. I'll be out there this afternoon. It's a wonderful time to be in Milwaukee in the summer.
Well, I know right now the talk has to be about Giannis Antetokounmpo, the trade saga finally being over, multiple picks involved, multiple players. Initially, how would you grade the return that Milwaukee got for a superstar like Giannis?
I graded a C. I thought there's a little bit more that the Bucks could have done. When you place it against the Jaylen Brown deal and some of the rumors that came out there, I do think they got the better of the two deals. But it feels like when there is a gravity-shifting, franchise-changing player like Giannis on the board, you would expect a little bit more. Like, you got Tyler Hero back. That's a local kid. But the rest of the guys sort of just feel like guys, and the picks aren't as many as you've seen other players that are not as impressive as Giannis go for. So it's a C. It's fine. It was time to move on, though.
So when you make a trade like this, is this signaling that it's going to be a couple of years of a rebuild, or do you see the Bucks still remaining competitive despite trading away a guy like Giannis?
I think fans think it's going to be a couple of years of the rebuild. I'm uncertain the Milwaukee Bucks franchise believe it's that after Jimmy Haslam and the Haslam group took over. Who knows what's going to happen with Tyler Hero? They do still have until July 6th to figure out the full details of the trade, to maybe add another team to move on from Tyler Hero and get picks back. But the problem is the Bucks, even with the picks they acquired from the Heat, still don't have a lot of picks in the near future. We're looking out to 2030. So I think it's going to be a long period of downtime. Are they going to build around Tyler Hero? Is no deal going to come to fruition? Who knows? Time will tell on that. But I don't have the utmost optimism when it comes to the Bucks in the near future.
Switching over to the NFL, talking some Green Bay Packers, it seems this offseason there has been a ton of talk surrounding Marshawn Lloyd. Why do you think that is to this point in the offseason?
I think it's the draft capital and the fact that we've seen him compete in one singular NFL game. He's gotten hurt in training camp and in the preseason thus far in his career. He is the type of guy that would bring exactly what the Packers need to the backfield, and more of an explosive runner, not as much of a plotter as Josh Jacobs is. The thing is, he was a high draft pick, and we haven't seen anything about him. And he went to a lab in California to do a study on his body and why he continually gets injured. They found the fact that he had imbalances in his muscles between his two legs. They worked on that to strengthen the other to even it out, and they believe he's going to be able to finally get healthy. It's the same thing that Christian Watson went through, who we talked about last time when he got his extension, and it seems to be doing good things. His nickname on the team is the Yeet Cannon. So if you want to look into his explosiveness, that's sort of the thing everyone's really excited about.
Now, speaking of Josh Jacobs, is there anything new with his status with the team?
Not anything at all. There is rumor, there's conjecture, nothing I feel comfortable saying or reporting with any sort of certainty. He has been with the team. He has been at practice. And I think we're just going to wait to find out from the local Brown County DA if they're going to pursue charges against Josh Jacobs or not.
And lastly, do want to talk some baseball with you with the 49-29 first place Milwaukee Brewers. We still have a couple of weeks to go before the trade deadline, but as of right now, do you see any pressing needs that they need to fill out there at the deadline?
Nothing sticks out in particular. We just saw Brandon Woodruff come back, throw an absolute unbelievable game, which was then matched exactly by Brandon Sproat. I do think pitching depth is something the Brewers should consider and think about because you can never have too many pitchers. Obviously, Jacob Mizorowski looks to be the Cy Young at this point in the season. Kyle Harrison is a surefire all-star. But when you are looking down the barrel of facing teams like the Phillies and the Dodgers, you can never have too many pitchers. I think that would be a great avenue to go. I've been pushing for the idea of Tariq Skubal. Now, will it happen? We will have to see. But the Brewers are just filled with prospects, young guys, young, exciting guys. And they have, frankly, more guys at short and second base and third base than they'll be able to play in the future. So I do think they have an opportunity here to add in a meaningful way and not just add, someone along the Jesse Winker lines, but somebody who can actually make a change when it comes to playoff time.
Josh, appreciate your time, man. Have a good weekend.
Thank you so much. You guys as well.
All right, the LaFeta Delicatessen, end of the hour answer. How many times in the last 50 years have the top 2 picks in the NBA draft come from the same conference?
I feel like I remember one.
You should remember one.
Yeah.
It was last week. Was this
well,
week?
yes, other than that one. Didn't, and it was the same team. Was it not Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist 1-2?
2012.
There was another one after that.
Those definitely, yeah. Or before, but it is after. Yes, 2012. The Kentucky being on the same team, certainly in the same conference. Impossible to be otherwise.
And then after that,
yeah, Pac-12, which still existed then, 2017. I'll give you the schools: Washington and UCLA.
So it would have been Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball.
Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball. This year, A.J. DeBonsa and Darren Peterson.
In 2014, Wiggins went 1, but Embiid went 3. I can't recall who was 2. Was it Jabari Parker? It might have. Yeah,
Somebody
it might have been Jabari Parker. Yeah. So close, but not exactly what you were looking for there. No, I vividly remember that Anthony Davis and then Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
It's like, what?
And they took Michael Kidd-Gilchrist without him being able to shoot the ball very well. Had the really awkward-looking shot.
Yeah.
But back then, the Bobcats, who were not far removed from having that year where they went like 7-59. It wasn't a full 82-game season, but that's the worst team I've ever seen played live before.
Certainly one of them.
We got a fun game we're going to do here. We actually have a couple of fun games before we close out this Friday edition of the program. We've got in or out coming up around 5:15, 5:20, I would say, trying to get the times right here. But this will be our own version of a game here. And just simply going over.
I know nothing about what's going to happen.
You
so
do not.
I'm interested.
You do not know. Kyle does not know. We're just going to go through every single NFL team.
Curtis.
Yes, Curtis.
I'm used to just
Curtis now
chiming in.
Give me an answer.
The 76 Reds.
Yes, correct. But
sweet, I lead.
Figuring out with these NFL teams, we're going to go through every single one of them. Is their window opening?
Mm-hmm.
Is it open? And we're talking about Super Bowl contention.
Mm-hmm.
Is it open? Is it closing? Is it closed? We're going to go through every single team here. We can have quick answers to, if we get to, a team like Arizona, might be a little bit of a spoiler alert. We can take about 10 seconds and say, I believe it's not opened yet.
Cool. So there can be only 4.
Only 4. If we want to be a little bit humorous, we can say it's not open and it will stay shut. It is completely sealed. It's barricaded.
It still is. There can be only 1, but we have 4 choices.
We do have 4 choices.
Multiple choice. Cool.
So I'm going to start you off here with the AFC. Kyle, I do want you to participate in this as well. Let's go with the AFC East, the reigning AFC champions, and the New England Patriots. Of those 4 options, what are you going with? Start with you, Curtis.
I'm going to say open. I will add that I don't think it's as wide open as a lot of people may think. I think the performance of Drake May in the postseason last year left a little to be desired. So I think there's the idea that thing's going to be it's open and it's going to be open for a decade. I don't think that's the case, but right now it has to be open. They're just coming off an AFC championship and did okay in the draft. So I'll say it is open.
Kyle, what say you?
Real quick, give me the 4 options again.
We've got opening, opened,
okay,
closing, closed.
All right. New England, clearly, it's open. And New England believes it, too, with the trade for A.J. Brown. They want to take advantage of Drake May while he's cheap. And, they are open.
I'm going to say opened as well. I view them a little bit like Cincinnati, though. When Cincinnati got to the Super Bowl, they've got, at the time at least, they've got the quarterback, they've got the weapons. Cincinnati didn't really have a great defense. It was good enough. New England's got a pretty good defense. My question would be, does this Mike Vrabel situation hang over the entire season? It's going to be a dark cloud the entire year because I wonder if Mike Vrabel is going to be the same guy, that same intense, former football guy, just has the look to him that he can fire up his team. Like, has this shaken him a little bit because it was such a national story? He was caught lying, and then it all became public. I have to wonder if that will have some type of an impact. Maybe not as much as we might think it would be, not enough to close their window.
No.
But I view it as being open for, as you kind of said, Kay, 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
It's not this team's going to be around for a decade plus.
And I reserve if we see something different this year, each year you estimate could have a different guess as to how long it's open. But my instance is it's open, but it's not going to be wide open as long as I think a lot of people thought maybe midway point of last year when they were on that roll.
Yeah, coming off a 14-3 season, they fell to Seattle in the Super Bowl. Up next, this will be a good one. Buffalo Bills. Kyle, we'll start with you.
Oh boy, man, I really want to say closing, but I just can't yet, just because of the quarterback. Everything around Josh Allen honestly does not inspire a ton of confidence in me. They fire Sean McDermott. They go with the in-house guy and Joe Brady. So we'll kind of have this debate: was it Josh Allen or Sean McDermott? Obviously, I think I'm going to side with the quarterback on that one. But yeah, I mean, they go out and get DJ Moore, add to the wide receiver room. But other than that, I really am not enamored with Buffalo's defense, certainly, and then. The other weapons that he has, Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, they're fine. James Cook is we'll see how much longer James Cook lasts. I think he was really the MVP of that Buffalo Bills team last year. I'm gonna say it's open for now, but it's
open for now.
Quickly going to be closing.
I think it's certainly open. We won't know in the coming years what the impact of the new revenue generating stadium they're moving into this year.
Those tickets aren't cheap, though.
No, yeah, it's
$700 for the cheapest I saw.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, folks are going to go, and if they're good, they're going to make some money off it. So, but I do agree that Josh Allen is still yet to find the descent of his skills. So I'm going to say it's open, but I could certainly see a situation where if we ask this question next year, it's starting to close. But right now, I haven't really seen any movement. I've seen a lot of what we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, and that's they're right there, and they just can't quite kick that door open. As open as the window's been, I think it's about that level right now.
I agree it's opened, but it's closing quickly because now there's not the luxury of the division sucks, where you're able, in the same way we talk about this with Kansas City. When you're winning your division by 3 or 4 games every single year and you're beating up on those bad teams, you're always going to be a 12, 13, 14 win team.
Right.
That's not the case anymore for Buffalo. And they've had far more loaded teams and better defenses in the past 5 years than they do now. This is not the same Titan-like, and not Tennessee, but powerful Bills team that you had to go through. Here's another part to it. I thought Orchard Park, Highmark Stadium, the old one, it'll be the new one this year, it made Buffalo really tough to go and beat because it just was this historic landmark. And not saying they can't have craziness in a new stadium, but we understand it. Like it does have some of that old school feel wear off on them, and the pressure's only building. They had to get through Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix, Drake May to get to a Super Bowl last year. They didn't even get to the final stage.
No.
They lost to Bo Nix. And I have to wonder, is New England the best team in that division moving forward? And if they are, then you are much closer to having a closed window than you are to being wide open. 2 years ago, Buffalo had one of the widest open windows you could talk about. Now you're getting closer to that closing side. Miami, don't need to waste my time. It's close. They're not. They're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL
until further notice.
Until further notice. Kyle, closed.
Locked.
Yeah.
It's barricaded right now.
Name one Miami Dolphin wide receiver.
No more Waddle.
Paul Warfield.
You know what? I'm stumped. I'm stumped.
We bring on Orlando Alzagari from Miami, and he'll
tell us.
And he'll tell us this is going to be one of the worst teams in football. They're going to be picking top 2.
And I thought that about Arizona last year, but Arizona won 3 games. I'm waiting for the first team to go 0-17. Miami, Malik Willis.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have better predictions the closer we get to the season. Jets, I would say close until further notice.
Yep.
Yeah, 3-14, still young.
Yeah, bringing back Geno Smith does nothing for them.
Jeez, you got other stuff to worry about right now with Geno Smith.
Right.
So Dolphins, Jets closed. We both have New England, and Buffalo is open. Moving on to the North. This is a fun one. Pittsburgh. I kind of think it's closing.
Yeah.
You got Aaron Rodgers one more year, but to me, and you got Mike McCarthy, so now it's at least
Which
a
I
new
don't know what that
regime.
means.
I don't know what that means either. If he does what he did in Dallas, which he got a lot of flack at the very end, but Mike McCarthy won
They won
double-digit games. They just couldn't get
They
over
just
the
couldn't
hump.
win in the postseason.
That's been the theme for Pittsburgh, where they'll win 10 games, they'll have a winning record. Do they get that deep into the postseason? You got Pittman and DK Metcalf now for Aaron Rodgers. I'm just going to say it's closing. It's not closed, but it's closing.
Yeah, I don't. It's kind of. I don't think the window's been that open. So maybe if I could find a wedge in between, the window's been cracked for a last 2 or 3 years, and I think it remains cracked. But it's much more likely to close than it is to open further.
Yeah, I mean, the window has been cracked with Mike Tomlin there. Then now that he's gone, I'm going to go ahead and say closed. I mean, I don't hate Mike McCarthy at all, but Aaron Rodgers is another year older. And then they have spent considerable assets on 2 wide receivers that I'm not sure how effectively Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to get them the ball. And frankly, I just thinking about their team, the AFC is a little bit too loaded for Pittsburgh right now. So, yeah, they may go 9-8. They may finish around 500, but and may sneak into a wild card spot. But I'm going to say it's closed simply because I don't think they don't have the weapons to contend.
Yeah, I wonder if looking back, I mean, of course, it's all going to depend on what the Steelers look like in Week 10 or Week 11, if they should have tried to go with the younger quarterback route. It's just harder to do that when Mike McCarthy is convinced to go to Pittsburgh. Maybe he was jumping on it no matter who his quarterback was going to be, but they needed to draft and develop a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like at some point, you got to get your quarterback of the future. They haven't had that for quite some time. Baltimore, another really interesting case here. If not now, win for Lamar. Like Lamar's best chance was when they had Kansas City in the AFC Championship game with that defense. Derrick Henry's another year older, more wear and tear on the body. I'm not all that impressed with the Ravens receiving core. The defense is not nearly as good as it was back in 23. I'm kind of on the closing side here. Lamar is a transcendent quarterback. He's so fun to watch. To me, though, it's how far can that take you? We've seen how far it can take them. It's not the same Baltimore team. They're coming off an 8-9 year. If he's healthy, I could see them making the postseason as a wild card team. They're not the best team in the division. We haven't even talked about them yet. I'm going to go with closing. Still slightly open. It's ajar, but it's closing.
I love stupid metaphors, and every once in a while I'll get one right. We'll see how this one works. Have you ever been sitting with the window open?
Yes.
And you're like, I'm not ready to close it, but it looks like something might be brewing outside.
Yeah.
So you just begin to kind of go, I'm going to keep an eye on this. That's where I am with the Ravens.
It's a good comparison.
The window's open. I'm not going to go close it yet, but the conditions are forming outside for the closing. Mm-hmm. It could at any minute be, better go close that.
Yeah, and you could feel that storm coming when they got rid of Harbaugh. Obviously, clearly it was time for a change. And I actually like the hire in Jesse Minter.
I do too.
He's a young coach. I think he's going to improve that defense, no doubt. But yeah, it's kind of similar to Buffalo. Open for now, but it's going to be closing fast.
This is the one that it does pain me to say, but it's been a while now since Chiefs and Bengals fans have been in each other's throats. Maybe not. I mean, you have a couple of Twitter interactions here and there. I believe Cincinnati wins the division this year. I really do. I mean, they did a good job of overhauling the defense a little bit. We know the offense is going to be explosive. If Joe Burrow stays healthy, you still have the monstrous receiving core. They last 3 years, they missed the postseason, I believe it's been. They're still putting up a ton of points. It was always about that defense. Not good enough. Worst defense in the league. They need to have the 20th best defense or the 22nd best defense, and they're going to win 10 games. In the North, let's see what Joe Burrow looks like because it's Lamar or Burrow to me, like who's the best quarterback in that division. I'm going to say it's back open. I believe they can be a top 3-4 seed in the AFC. I'm going to go open here, and I got them winning about 11 or 12 games this year.
I'll say open. That was one of those windows I was about to close, and I thought, okay,
Really?
hang on, wait a minute, let me look. Just because I think their best shot was before Joe Burrow got expensive. That offense is going to be incredibly expensive, and they're going to start losing some situations. The loss of Trey Hendrickson was not going to help that defense get any better. And I just there's no reason to expect that Joe Burrow's going to play the entire season. At some point, he could be coming off 3 amazing games with 125 passer ratings, and they're scoring all kinds of points, and suddenly you're looking at Twitter and Joe Burrow left the game with an ankle or something.
It hinges on that.
He's got to play a full season before I'll say that I think it's going to stay open. But he is when he's on the field, he's really, really good.
Yeah.
And so I'll say the window's open, but it could close pretty quickly.
Kyle?
The Bengals clearly believe it's open, and I mean they have to after paying T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. They did overhaul that defensive line, trading for Dexter Lawrence, and I actually like some of the young pieces they've drafted the last couple of years. If that defense is anything better than like you said, 20 or 22nd, they should win that division. I'm going to say open for now.
Open for now. Browns closed, sealed.
Yeah, forget it.
Lowest scoring offense in the league.
That offense, that thing hasn't been open since about 2021.
Whenever they played the Chiefs in the COVID year. Yeah. Moving on to the AFC South, Jacksonville coming off a 13-win season. I'm going to say closing. It seemed to be that one-off. I'm not sold on Trevor Lawrence being the guy that he was last year moving forward. That felt like a perfect storm of beating up on some pretty bad teams. They had that signature win against Kansas City early on in the season that they kind of just carried the rest of the way. But we saw that in the postseason against the Bills team that was not as good as previous Bills teams, they went into Jacksonville and won that game. They should be able to win that division. Not sure it's going to take 13 games this time, but I'm going to say it's open for now, closing. Same way I was kind of hinting at it for... Who was it? Baltimore, a little bit. Like, it's still open.
Yeah.
They could get hot at the right time, but it's not that 5 years from now we'll still be talking about Jacksonville as a Super Bowl contender.
I'll say it's open. How long, I don't know, but I think right now it's open. I do like what Lawrence did a year ago, and I like the Joel and Ethan Cohen. Liam Cohen,
yeah.
Who the head coach was. I think he's a really good offensive mind. He kind of showed his worth last year. So I'll say it's open.
I'm going to say closing. Simply, I'm just not sure I'm a Trevor Lawrence believer. Brian Thomas Jr. seemed to have taken a step back after a tremendous rookie year. And they lost Travis Etienne in free agency. So I'm going to say closing.
And Lawrence cut his hair. So
yes,
true.
Who knows if
different man now.
Was he Samson?
Yes. Houston, I'm going to say open. That defense, so soon to forget how elite that defense was. A scary defense.
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud's got to be much better than he was in that divisional round game against New England.
You wouldn't have thought that he'd be the reason the window might be closing.
I'm still a believer in C.J. Stroud, and when you've got a defense like that, it reminds me of what Lamar had. No, he's not as good as Lamar was, but you got to be serviceable. Just don't throw 4 interceptions in one game, and you'll probably win a couple of playoff games. But it's open. You got a defense that good, in my opinion, ceiling wise, the best defense in the NFL.
And they're well coached. I agree. Open.
I'm going to say closing.
Ooh,
I don't believe in C.J. Stroud either, and I don't think the Texans do because they still haven't paid him.
This one, I feel like we can wrap together here. Colts, Titans, still closed right now. I believe that we saw. I mean, what was Daniel Jones 7-1, and they finished 8-9.
Yeah,
it was ugly. They can't stay healthy, and I'm not sure you're going to get that same type of season from Danny Dimes. I like what Tennessee did a little bit. They're going to be a fun 5-win team. That would be my hot take for the AFC South. AFC West, and we'll take a quick break and probably go rapid fire through the NFC. Denver, open. Bo Nix earned my respect. Sean Payton's a damn good coach. It's tough to win there. It's open when you win 14 games and get to the AFC Championship game. And the only reason you lost is because Jared Stidham was starting and not Bo Nix.
I'm not sold on Bo Nix, but I'll say it's open.
I'll say open. They swung big for Jalen Waddle, too.
Chargers, I'm going to say closing. It seems that Justin Herbert is just becoming the hypothetical quarterback of if this happens, if this happens, if this happens. They can't seem to get over the hump. So I'm going to say they've got maybe 1 or 2 more years of being that 10-7, 11-6. Then I think it's going to become a pretty tough thing for them to get to where they need to get to.
Yeah, I don't think the window is that open. I think it's closed a little bit, but it's going to start closing even faster as we go along, I think.
I'm going to say it's open. I'm going to hope that Harbaugh and Mike McDaniel can change things over there. Hopefully the injury luck turns out, and I say this as a Justin Herbert believer. So I'm riding with hope here.
Raiders closed.
It hasn't been open for
Hasn't
years.
been open.
Yeah.
They don't have a window.
Let's get to the Chiefs here,
It's a door and it's bolted shut.
and then we'll hit our break. The Chiefs, we're going to say this like we have with Buffalo and Baltimore. It's still open as long as you have Patrick Mahomes. It's open.
Yeah.
I'm very curious 1 year from now, if you go 7-10 or 6-11, there's going to be some hard discussions because how much longer does Andy Reid have? Was that it for Travis Kelce? It'll be a new era of Chiefs football. So this year, you got to go have another 12-5 year to sort of re-up that they're going to be a Super Bowl contender as long as he's there.
I think wherever the window is right now, it's going to go decidedly in one direction. Can be based on this year. If everything flips back to normal, okay, you're good.
Yeah.
Starts to slide, then I mean, a lot of that depends. We may have a completely different answer a year from now.
Kyle, wrap us up here.
Open for now.
Yeah, open for now.
Open for now. We'll take a quick break, come back, go rapid fire through the NFC. Wrapping up hour number 3 of the program, I'm your host, Jack Johnson. Courtesy Bolt Kyle Collier here. We got to go rapid fire. NFC West here. We all in agreement? Seattle, Rams, Niners, all open. Cardinals closed?
Yes. 3 opens and 1 no window.
Cool. NFC South, I don't think there's any Super Bowl contender there. I'd say that maybe you'd say Tampa Bay slightly open. NFC North, I'm going to say the Bears are open. Green Bay's open. Detroit opening, closing. Not sold yet. Minnesota's there.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
And then NFC East, I'm going to say that Philly is still open there. It's closing.
Yeah.
Dallas could be interesting. They usually fall short in the postseason.
I think at some point, Nick Sirianni's stupidity is going to end up closing that window for him. He's going to close his own window.
The NFC is going to be so fun to watch in the postseason because that NFC West is going to bloody each other up for sure. Seattle's got the target on their back. The Rams are the best team in the NFC. We know that.
First division in NFL history to have 3 12-win teams.
Gosh, feel so bad for Arizona.
1-14.
I feel so terrible for Arizona.
Yes.
Who have Jacoby Brissett?
Carson Beck.
Carson.
And actually, Jacoby Brissett is holding out after
That's
going
right,
1-11.
Oh, boy. Well, football season's just around the corner. Just around the corner for us. We're going to tell you what you need to know.
All right, who's the Chicago White Sox single-season home run leader? Brought to you by La Feta Delicatessen.
Hour number 4 of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I am your host, Jack Johnson, filling in for Soren Petro, Curtis Seabolt, Kyle Collier here. Gotta tell you what you need to know.
We will. Things you must know.
And, okay, let's start it off here. What's in the news here?
Well,
what do we need to inform the listeners about?
The Royal season continues tonight.
It does.
They're going to keep playing. They're at Chicago tonight in first to 3, 6:40 on Royals TV. Stephen Cruz against David Sandlin. Stephen Kolek was originally scheduled to start tonight. He goes on the paternity leave, paternity leave list. And so Stephen Cruz will get to start in what I imagine will be a bullpen game. And to help in that regard, right-handed pitcher Mitch Spence has been recalled from Omaha to take Kolek's spot. So that's of note. Elsewhere in Major League Baseball, the New York Mets have fired manager Carlos Mendoza. The club toiling through a 6-game losing streak in a disastrous season. Andy Green named interim manager for the remainder of the year. He'll take over a team that's 34-47. We're just swept 4 games against the Cubs. Again, a season low, season worst, I guess, 13 games under 500. Things have not gone well in Queens.
I don't know if you had the chance to catch a couple of clips of the Mets broadcast during the series with the Cubs.
They're so good.
They're amazing.
It's the best TV broadcast team in the country.
They really tell it how it is.
Oh, yeah.
They had a clip because they traded Pete Crow Armstrong when he was a prospect to the Cubs for Javi Baez, and they had this great clip of him just steaming around the base. I mean, he hits this extra gear. We know PCA can run. He hits this extra gear where you just hear the audible, oh, man. And I forgot who it was in the booth. They go, that's going to go down as one of the worst trades that the Mets ever made. But he goes, well, he got good 6 weeks from Javi Baez. And there was one that earlier this week, they had 6 errors in a game, all 6 in the infield. And hearing the broadcast, too, on Mark Vientos' 6th error, the 6th total error, his 2nd of the game, it was like, it's just dismal play, just embarrassing play. You can't explain it. And for the Mets, you really can't. I mean, that is a top 5 payroll team. Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor. Yes, there are some holes where Vientos isn't the 30 home run guy he once was. Brett Beatty never really turned into much. They've had injuries. They've dealt with injuries. They acquired Luis Robert from the White Sox in the offseason. He's done what Luis Robert has always done and been banged up. Mm-hmm. But you just thought with 2 years ago when they got to the NLCS against the Dodgers, it's like this team's going to be around for a while. And they landed Juan Soto?
Nope.
No. And they're not even close.
Has not happened.
And they tried buying Bo Bichette, too.
Yep, Bo Bichette. And
they even tried buying Boba Fett.
Yes.
And that didn't work either.
And
I can't hear Boba Bichette and not think
Boba Fett.
I'm not even a Star Wars guy.
Yeah, I am for sure. But somebody's got to fall on the sword. When you're 13 games under 500 and you have the payroll they did, and the expectation was maybe not World Series or bust, but NLCS or bust. Yeah, Carlos Mendoza. I'm surprised he's around this long.
Looking at a GM probably going to be next.
David Stern. Yeah,
you put this team together, Captain.
And it goes back to our first conversation today where I said the Royals need to go make a splash. They need to spend a lot of money. Oftentimes, though, it goes like this. If the Royals would have gave Bo Bichette that contract and Bo Bichette was doing what he's doing, it's harder to overcome that than maybe it is for the New York Mets. So Mendoza fired. Alex Cora fired earlier this year. That didn't really change Boston's season. The only one that it did was a team that the Royals will see next weekend.
Yep.
Now, Don Mattingly, who was seen as one of the big reasons why the Blue Jays had the turnaround they did last year. Donnie can coach. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that it never really worked out in Miami.
Ball game for nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a winner.
College football news, if you want to call it, it's just football news, I guess. Another door is closed for Brendan Sorsby's immediate football future. CFL saying today he will not be allowed to join any of its teams for the upcoming season. Quote, upholding the integrity of the league and ensuring fair competition are paramount to the CFL. The allegations involving Brendan Sorsby are serious and concerning. At this time, they have said they will not register a contract for him, and no team will be permitted to add him to its negotiation list.
His career's got to be over, right? I mean, you're not going to have a year out of football and expect to be a starting quarterback in the NFL or anywhere for that matter.
It's about as over as it can be for a player who
never really
hasn't been suffered a serious debilitating injury and or hasn't committed, a Terry and Arnold type crime. I mean, he done nothing technically illegal. He's not hurt, but it's hard to see him bouncing back from this.
But he's like he's a radioactive bomb or something.
Yes.
Nobody wants to get anywhere near him.
And again, we get back to what we talked about yesterday. If he had come out and just said, I screwed this up horribly. I'm sorry. I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be a better player. I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to making up for my mistake. Someone might have taken a shot at him, but all he and his team cared about, was getting him back on the field so he could make money immediately and maybe win a national championship. Well, that's the path you took. So
Texas Tech said they were going to let him keep the money so he could help, figure out his addiction.
Biggest bunch of hoo-ha.
Texas Tech, I think, royally he screwed himself over. Let's be honest here. He's a big boy. He screwed himself over, but they did not help him.
No.
I mean, the push to get him.
Yeah, no one's helped him. He hadn't helped himself for sure.
No, and that's where now, yes, a year from now, it's not going to be a hot topic. But who wants to take a chance on a guy who's been out of football for a year that has this tied to him? You're still filling out roster spots. That's why I also said about the practice squad, those guys need to be valuable too. Not sure Brendan Sorsby would be. Coming up next, in or out on the